Jeff,
Huh?
what did we say about video games during class?
It's fine.
He's just texting his mom.
I'm doing my
and
own.
She
This is
has
it's
to
a
go to
calculator.
the.
You're not here to play. You're here to learn.
This is my TI-82.
Dude, he's coming. He's gonna take it.
If you don't start taking your education seriously.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
All right.
I'm gonna pull my phone out then.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
All right, hand over the Call of Duty.
Yeah, now I'm gonna.
But it's mobile. I can bring it with me wherever I go.
See the effect you're having on this class.
Oh man,
Now
yeah,
Ben
I
plays
shot
I'm
that guy in his
studying.
stupid face.
Now Ben is playing Mario Kart.
I'm studying.
I'm on
no
Twitter.
one, no one plays Mario Kart on a phone.
You pay.
It's been
Yeah.
going.
Phones.
Uh,
They're video game consoles now.
yeah, I guess so.
Now that they have Call of Duty.
That's true.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It's
It's Giant Bombcast. Hello.
Hi.
It's okay.
Did it come out today?
Yeah, officially. Yeah, I mean, it kind of came out yesterday. It was like New
That's
Zealand
right.
time
It's
or
the
whatever.
big Tuesday release. Everyone's been anticipating.
That's right.
Call
Call of Duty
of-
Mobile, motherfucker.
More like
I believe that's the official subtitle.
Call of Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that works.
No, that doesn't work.
Call of Tuesday is
Call
like
of Tuesday.
okay. If you just want to go right there.
Yeah.
Yesterday was Mortal Monday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Wiggler Wednesday.
This time we swear.
Yeah, is that just Call of Duty?
Yeah, pretty much.
On a phone?
Yeah, it's pretty much Call of Duty on a phone.
Okay.
I'm playing on Nuketown right now.
Oh, hey, they put Nuketown
They
in the
put
game.
Nuketown in the game.
They put Nuketown in your pocket.
Yeah. And like it sure does hit you up like with 3 different things you could spend money on when you launch the game. It's very much like, hey, you should get
Best value.
You should get the premium battle
Yeah.
pass. You should buy some fucking shit and buy some other shit.
Hey, they don't have Destiny anymore. They got to make up that revenue somehow.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
But in terms of like how it plays, like I played a little bit of it at E3 and like mapping Call of Duty to a touch screen, they do okay with it. They've got a couple of different control schemes for...
I see you've got the good fake dual analog smudge on your screen.
I do, yeah. 2 gross smudges from my disgusting fingers.
So do you need to stick with touch controls, or can you actually?
It does not have controller support.
Oh,
if
there
it
we
did, it would be... If it did, why would you
Right.
buy Call of Duty?
Yeah, I know. But
I really wish I
at
had
the
mouse
same
and
time-
keyboard.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, there we go.
It's weird. Like we're getting to the point where we're talking about covering games, and then somebody like somebody in Slack will be like, "Hey, does anybody have a code for blank?" And then you're just like, "Hey, it's on Apple Arcade. Just play
Yeah,
that."
it's just on your phone.
Like
download it.
the actual real video games are just there for the playing.
Yeah, I got that yesterday.
Though I do
actually.
think I'm going to start playing What the Golf over from scratch. It's
yeah?
it's out on PC.
Oh, yeah?
now,
Is that
good?
So,
I haven't played that yet.
Is it really?
It's very good.
It's really good. So it's not the same game as Desert Golf. Desert Golf is, a phone game that came out of Grippy like 5 years ago or something.
yeah.
It was a great, just like one screen at a time. You flick back and you let go, and it was just this endless thing of golf. And it hit that sweet spot of golf without being too simmy, because I feel like mobile golf, you really just want an easy, like, you
Yeah.
drag and let go, and it shoots
Exactly.
the golf ball.
But
Yes.
it is like a skill game, right? Desert Golf. It's like a mechanics game.
Yeah, it's a physicsy. I mean,
yes.
What I mean is there's no like sense of humor or story or anything.
Oh,
right? It's
there's
just-
a sense of humor.
Oh.
Wait, are you talking about
Seems
Desert
like
Golf?
Desert
or-
Yeah, we're talking about
Oh,
Desert Golf, yeah.
Desert Golf.
That's what I mean. That's just a
You
mechanics game.
You
right?
get to a part when there's like there's a river in it, and you're like, oh fuck, like hole 1600 has a river,
Yeah.
and then you go like another 500 holes, you see a cactus. But that's about it for Desert Golf.
Yeah.
A game I put, let's say, 50 hours into on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
What the Golf is hitting that same part of my like novelty golf pleasure center brain.
I started doing all of the like crown challenges and
Yeah.
stuff once I realized like, oh, you need to do those in some cases to advance.
Are they like straight up to the gate? Because I
there's-
just
yeah,
started doing
Yeah,
all of them.
there
for
are
fun.
some doors that are just like you need to have completed get at least one crown before you can move forward.
So is there a decent amount of meat to that game?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
Yeah.
We only played like maybe 5 minutes of it on that
Right.
stream
Yes.
last week,
Yes.
and when I saw it, it looks like a pretty jokes driven puzzle game.
It absolutely
So
is
my-
jokes driven. It
my-
is references driven.
Well, that's
but like the references change the gameplay. It's not just like look at this skin that makes it look like a different game.
my worry though was that if every hole is like authored and jokey, that they just didn't do that many of them. But
That's I don't
is
know how
there-
many there are.
There's
Like I
a
haven't finished
lot.
it yet, but yeah,
I'm
it's
only-
got a good amount of length to it.
I would say
You
I
guys get to
played.
space yet?
yeah.
Yeah.
No spoilers, man.
Basically, so that every hole has like kind of three. So even more simple. It's kind of a it starts out as like a 3D, you're just like you flick a ball and it goes in the hole, and that's the first course.
Yeah.
And the second one,
Basic kind of touch golf.
yeah, the second one you maybe like flick your guy back and let go, and the golfer flies
Instead of the ball. And you're like,
and
what? And
you're
that
like, oh,
that is
okay.
that game is
Yeah.
like what happens when you start to play it often changes in ways you might not expect. But then it starts to repeat a little too often where it's like, oh, now it's the golfer again. Like it wears thin, and then suddenly it goes like, oh, actually, no, fuck you. Here's like 9 other things that are like
they make you seem that they might be out of ideas for a second.
Right. And then it's like, oh, now I'm bowling. What?
Yeah.
All right.
Now I'm controlling a vase, and I can't hit the vase too hard or against any rocks, or it's going to shatter before it gets to the goal. Or now I'm playing flappy golf.
Right. Yeah.
You know what that is, right?
There's a lot of like video game references
Yes.
throughout that are
You guys need
surprising.
to get to a specific one that's really fucking fantastic.
Ooh, I don't think I've gotten there.
there's a
changes
couple
the
of
whole
surprising ones like past the space stuff.
Yeah.
That are just like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now.
And
then
like translating that to like kind of a golf game.
Yeah,
still, it's,
translating like
awesome.
this, translating those mechanics, highly specific mechanics.
Okay,
into
I think
just
you
like,
have gone to where
yeah,
I've gone. Okay.
of just like, okay, all right, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, but it still works for some reason.
It does.
Yeah.
It's surprising, that game, and I recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Have you tried the PC version yet? No, I have not. Okay. And I don't know how much it costs, so I guess like that would temper the recommendation would be based on like if it's like $15, like that's probably okay.
The Apple Arcade thing is, hey, you
Is
can
like-
play it for kind of nothing right now.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Let me find out real quick.
It is on the Epic Store.
Yeah, I wonder how it controls.
Yeah, I think it's.
I bet you would just
think
use a
it's
mouse
great.
to just like click drag back. I bet that'd be
Right.
fine.
Oh, that was a Fig game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another
All right.
Fig joint.
Yeah. Fig coming through big for once.
I think it's just fine.
I think it's
on
weird that it
phones.
has a daily challenge, but doesn't seem to have leaderboards. It's like, all right, and the daily challenge is just like some levels from the campaign thrown together in a different order,
Yeah.
which is less interesting than I initially thought.
Yeah, it kind of spoiled a couple things for me
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
time I did
definitely.
it.
So it's $20 on the Epic Store.
Oh, wow.
I like
Well,
that.
I don't know how long it is, so but it's wonderful. I'll say that.
There's a show to a friend mode. I really like that's just like a sampling of levels that kind of like
Oh,
gives
okay.
just
Yeah.
like right on the main menu.
Holy
Like
shit.
I handed it to my partner and said, "Hey, check this out."
Here's the greatest hits.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Seems like Apple Arcade is a pretty rousing success from what I'm seeing in this place and elsewhere.
Like
Not
Buzz-
not,
but
not
at
every
least
game
Buzz-
is
No,
is good.
Of course
but
not.
yeah,
Of course
it's-
not.
yeah.
But I mean, what is it, like 100 games or something? I
Yeah.
mean, of course.
Yeah.
If even a tenth of those are very good, then that's a good amount of stuff.
That's more games than I've downloaded on my phone the rest of this year combined. Probably 10.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I've been messing around with a lot of Apple Arcade since I'm on the train for a couple hours every day. So I ended up beating Sayonara, Wild Hearts. Anyone else finish that, Jan?
No, I didn't. I haven't touched it since last week.
It's great.
I've been meaning to try with a controller.
Yeah, I think playing this on Steam, like with a good pair of headphones and just like sitting down.
It's
probably
actually
the
not
best
on
way.
PC. I checked.
Oh, is it
A
not?
few days ago. Like it's not on any PC platform.
What
I don't
else
think-
is it on?
I thought it was on the Epic Store.
No, I don't think
Okay,
it's.
maybe it is just phones and Switch right
It's
now.
and
Switch.
PS4. It's PS4
Oh,
Switch,
okay.
and yeah, because I was looking for a PC release and I couldn't even find like an announcement of a PC release. Like their website just has PS4 Switch and iOS
Okay.
listed.
Yeah, wow.
So like it seems crazy for that not to be on PC, but
Yeah, hopefully soon it comes. But yeah, if you don't if you do have Apple Arcade though, I think it's fine.
well, you could use a controller with that, right?
Yeah.
Oh
totally.
yeah,
yeah.
you can use it. But I mean, like if you're on like the train.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, man, just bring
Put
the
a
DualShock
controller in
with
your
you.
bag.
Yeah.
I literally have a PS4 controller in my bag now, just in case.
I
Well,
thought about
but
that on my
but
bus
I,
ride today.
and by just in case, I mean I have not pulled it out once, other than when we were doing that stream. But it's in there, and I pulled it out to check and see if Call of Duty Mobile had controller support. Which
Does it?
no,
No, we've established that.
no. That'd be cool though.
What are
It
you
would be
doing
cool.
at
Because then
that
it'd just
point?
be like, now I'm just playing Call of Duty, I guess.
And then I played more Card of Darkness, and I've gotten to a place with that game, and Jan, maybe you can back me up on this, where I'm just having too many rounds feel like I'm just getting really bad RNG.
Oh yeah, a ton of the rounds that I'd play, I would just like be borderline to breaking my phone, and I couldn't like the quaintness and charmingness of it wasn't enough to.
It like
Keep me
works
playing?
against it because
Yeah.
sometimes it's so infuriating. So it's it's kind of it's from Zach Gage, who made threes previously and some other things. And it has a kind of a threes vibe to it. It's a very
Definitely.
simplistic puzzle game.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on. It
Makes me realize I'm terrible at math.
yeah. It is about math, and it's about, like kind of planning a few turns ahead, like a threes. But unlike threes, which had elements of RNG, like you'll just straight up start out the game. So the game is about carving a path through and taking as little damage as you can, and you can mitigate damage by picking up weapons, and there's potions that'll heal you and stuff like that. But since it's all random, you'll like have some runs where you just like don't get a weapon until like way too late, or you don't get any health potions, or like it's all potions at the beginning and they're all like used up. And it's a bummer. It goes to show, like, I feel like I haven't played a lot of card games recently that have had bad RNG, but it goes to show you that like it can really mess you up on a game. It can really like put a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, some levels are multiple tiers of levels, so you'll get to say there's like 4 tiers in a level, and you'll get through the first 3 completely fine, full health, you got a good weapon on you, and then the lineup you get in the first round of the 4th level or 4th tier of the level is just complete garbage, and it's like completely working against you because the math just winds up being not in your odds at all.
So does the card gaming resemble any real world card game? Like it's not solitaire or anything like that?
It's not even that. It's more so like, I'm trying to think of another video game it's like, but basically when you start the game, you'll have like, it's every one takes place on a 4x4 grid of 16 total stacks of cards. And cards can have like 4 types of things. They can be enemies, which will do damage if you touch them, weapons, which can kill enemies, health potions, and gold.
Yep.
And gold is just like for your shop back home. And it's your goal to get from one end of the playing field to the other. So like basically either the opposite corner or somewhere. It's not always the corner, but that's just an example. And you have to make your way through. So like, like I'm going to get the 3 cards in front of me and then go left or right 2 spaces and then forward again to the exit, right? And to do that, you're just kind of clearing these piles, and you can hit an enemy and that'll deplete your total HP. So like you start with 20 HP and you'll see a level 3 enemy that'll do 3 damage to you. Or you can pick up a weapon, and the weapons work where it's like a weapon will have a value of 5 on it, like let's say randomly. And if you use it on an enemy that has 5, you're not going to take any damage. But if you use it on an enemy that has 4, it's going to break because you can't use odd weapons on even monsters and vice versa. So it's just kind of this like...
Does the damage like stay or?
Yeah, okay. So the damage stays and between floors. So that's where you can really find yourself in an unfortunate scenario like that. The main reason I was playing this is because it visually stood out to me because the art was from Pendleton Ward, creator of Adventure Time. And it was one of the few games that got recommended to me that had podcast support on it.
Podcast support
seems to be a common complaint about these games.
And it was an interesting concept, but I think it's just like a little too.
And the thing, if you activate a pile of cards, you have to completely finish that pile before you're able to exit the floor.
I'll pull this up for visual while Jan talks.
And they offer a couple like modifiers after you clear a level that kind of let you mitigate that. But you wind up taking so if you don't clear this pile of cards, you wind up taking 8 damage. And but sometimes the RNG of the game winds up being very generous for the potions you come across. It just it's super punishing. You wind up trying a level over and over, but at least it looks cute.
Yeah, it does. It does really look cute. So I mean, all the monster art is really adorable. Like
except that mushroom.
I love the mushroom.
No, that mushroom freaks me out.
So you're just trying to like work your way through a playing field here.
Okay.
As you can see. And then like
no one at home can see.
I mean,
so
you can see, and then you can use your words to support what I'm saying about.
I agree with you.
Yay!
There you go. Yay, I did it.
What he said pretty much checks out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cool.
Okay. That's Card of Darkness. Play it, I guess, if you want to listen to something while you're on the train.
Well, I wonder, I don't know if Grindstone has been updated yet. They acknowledged that they were going to fix that.
I saw a few other developers out there saying similar things.
Yeah. So sounds like maybe the great nightmare of
we need a
listening to video game audio.
We need a cowboy out there, like with the fight stick fix to make like a universal don't get your headphones overridden.
Yeah,
fix you plug in and.
Does anybody find it just maybe a little bit overbearing when games tell you to put on headphones at the beginning, specifically mobile games? I feel like I'm being way too touchy about this.
I just look at it and go like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
maybe for me it's partially because I always do that. It's like, hey, I was going to do that anyway.
sure.
You don't need to like.
I look at it and go like, the sound of my phone is literally almost never on.
No.
So no, it's just not gonna happen. And that's why I haven't played Sayonara Wild Hearts, because I just haven't been in a situation where I can. It's been too busy to just sit down and go like, okay, rhythm game, audio important, like sit down, like it's just not where I'm at right now. So it's a wonderful game from what I played of it months ago, but yeah, I just haven't been able to touch it.
Yeah. Cool. Can you
what I have been touching is that Breakpoint. It's out. It's technically out.
Oh, for the
for people that bought
what's it called?
some
Uplay Plus. Uplay
Plus,
or maybe I think even on consoles, if you purchased
if
like
you just buy the expensive game.
expensive version, maybe that's today.
Yeah.
And then the fourth for everybody else.
I think it's pronounced Uplay Plus.
Play Plus. Sorry,
'Cause they're
Okay.
Ubisoft.
they are not Ubisoft.
Yeah.
No, that's.
Uplay.
I think at one point they were. I
Did
think
they
they
actually,
fuck around.
canonically?
Yeah. I feel like at some point they said Ubisoft.
Like one studio was Ubisoft and
Yeah.
another was Ubisoft.
I wonder if they just had some big internal push years ago. Just be like,
Eve's
hey,
got out there,
motherfucker,
he's
this
like,
is how we
"Listen
pronounce
up.
the name of our company.
Listen up, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went. I don't know. We should dig into that and see if that was less canonical than it seems to be. Anyway,
We'll
whatever.
dig in through the game tapes and find some interviews.
Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which is sort of a follow-up to Wildlands.
Right.
Like, it's lightly been positioned that way, but it is not a follow-up in story. It has similar concepts, but it doesn't... This is not Wildlands 2. This does not feel like a direct sequel to Wildlands. It just feels like some of the ideas in Wildlands are still in use here.
This seems like much more of a loot game from what I've seen.
It does, yes. It has loot.
There's a gear score.
Has
Yes, there's a
survival
gear
elements as
score.
well?
Not the survival stuff is very light.
Okay.
It is like a Far Cry heal, basically.
Right, like you can
Oh,
break
that's easy
injure
enough.
a limb or something.
yeah, yeah. So there's the concept of being injured, and then you need to do a long heal to cure the injury, and that restores your health regen.
Do you hear like
really
a
good to
bone
know. Okay.
crush
No,
when you
it's
do
not.
it?
It's not quite. It's not quite the Far Cry like disgusting
Yeah.
heals that
Oh,
they
it was
had.
so bad. Oh.
And
So
then
is there not like a big range of different injuries that you can
No,
have? It's just kind
it
of
is like minor injury, major injury.
Okay.
If you have a minor injury, a syringe can usually heal it, especially an upgraded syringe. But other stuff you're gonna have to like stop and go like, okay. And so there'll be items that will have things like, hey, or things on the tech tree or in the skill tree that'll be like, oh, you're 10% less likely to get injured when you get shot, or like that sort of stuff. So it's sort of playing with that. So it's very light. It's not a survival game. You do have water, but that just means like if you run a bunch and get super fatigued, eventually your stamina meter will, like the maximum
Shorten a
of it
little
will
bit.
reduce
Yeah.
until you drink a water. And then it's fine. And anytime you walk through water, a prompt pops up that says,
wanna drink
refill
this?
canteen. But if your canteens are full, it still pops up. It's just red. It's just, yeah. The action in it, I think, is cool. And I think there's some really neat stuff happening in terms of like, it is a lot of that kind of, hey, I'm hiding here. I'm marking enemies. I'm pulling up a drone. But unlike Wildlands, where if you were playing alone, you had just AI that were just straight up murderers. You are alone or you are playing with humans. That is it.
Huh.
There is no AI teammates
nobody to do your work
to
for you.
play with. Yeah.
Right.
And so, but there are items. There's a sync shot drone that basically is like a consumable item that you can use to kind of do the Wildlands thing if you so choose.
Which
and-
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask what class you were playing.
I'm playing Assault right now. The class stuff seems like you have a class ability,
Right.
but the tech trees don't seem dramatically different. Also, you can kind of swap on the fly.
Yeah, I played a little bit at E3, and
yeah.
they were like, we kind of talked about the class stuff for a really long way, and then let us loose, and we were just looking through the stuff, and it was just like kind of your gun, your like starting gun, and your ability was kind of the difference.
That seems like it. So, like the Assault class's ability, I'm not even sure what it does. I think it just gives you like damage reduction for X amount of time, and you can just kind of mow down a bunch of guys. It's
your close range, your mid range, your long range,
pretty much
kind of are your like classes.
and like a medic class
then,
that's like
support.
Yeah. The class stuff, with the game just kind of coming out, I haven't been able to get into any multiplayer yet, so I haven't really seen how the classes interact or something. That might be awesome. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do
maybe.
you know how that works exactly? Is it campaign co-op or?
Yep, it's campaign co-op. Cool. So because I haven't been able to get into a match, emblazoned in the upper right part of the screen at all times is this blinking thing that says "Join co-op game," and you hold up on the D-pad to activate it.
Player 2 insert coin.
And it doesn't go away. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't go away. You can. I think there's a deep menu you can go into to turn off like all the tutorial prompts and stuff like that. That would result in that. But when you do it and go to the matchmaking screen at the bottom of the screen, it almost feels like something they hastily scrawled into the last minute. It just says, "Breakpoint is optimized for co-op." At the bottom to remind you that this is how you should be playing this game. So it is always online. It is a server-based game. You are not playing offline ever. It will not load if you are not on the internet.
Same as the Division, right?
Yeah, but it is not
the
that.
same game, but the same always online stuff.
Yes.
Or a Destiny or whatever.
Yes. But it doesn't feel like a game that justifies that to me. Like it still feels like a campaign game that you could just as easily, you can pause it, you can do all this other stuff.
It's got that social space, right? I think we saw that in the beta that Rory was playing.
Yep, you go back to a base that's like a cave that people have holed up in. The story is that there's a tech company that has started their fucking nightmare libertarian island, which is basically they call it just like, oh, this guy's libertarian utopia sure went to shit because some PMC went in and said, you guys making a lot of cool stuff around here. You should make it for us and make it all murderous. And you're there now to stop them. Or you're there because you got shot down trying to figure out what happened to a boat, basically. You're not even like, we got to go save these people. You kind of get roped in that way.
You're there because it sounds really cool and you want to go check it out.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You're there because you have the sickest goatee in the world and your fucking gruff, gritty voice. Well, yeah, motherfucker. Like my guy looks so fucking new metaled out. It's just he's so sick. He's so down. He is as down with the sickness as one could be.
I got a little bit of a vibe like that from just the beta footage we saw.
And the voice acting on the male protagonist is he just sounds like a fucking idiot.
I don't think I can do it.
Just gruff voice. He's like, yeah, we got it. Yeah. It's not even like that. It's like, it's worse. Like Wildlands was shitty because it was so repetitive, but like that got to be funny in a weird way. This is just like, ugh, this guy sucks. I don't want to hear this dude talk.
Have you gotten a good amount of Barenthal yet?
I don't know. Like I think that he's the guy they call Walker, and there's one cutscene where he kills a bunch of your guys, and I think that's him. I don't know who John Barenthal is. He's the guy with the dog. Yeah. But the character I saw in game did not immediately make you like, that's the guy. Oh, yeah. So I don't fucking know what that dude looks like. So the action around it is, you're making your way through this open world, you're gunning down guys, you have a drone you can pull up in the air to mark targets and do all of that fucking Clancy ass shit. And
formerly known as Far Cry ass shit.
Yeah, yes. Tom Clancy's Far Cry. But you do it in third person, so it's totally different. You don't understand, man. And it's fine. The stuff around the edges of it is really weird, though. It really, like, structurally, it feels like they wanted to make more of a survival game. By default, the game defaults to like guided mode, and at some point through the tutorial, they kind of recommend like, hey, maybe you turn this off, because they'll send you out. They'll be like, hey, you need to go here and do a thing. You should go here and find this object. You should go here and murder these dudes. In guided mode, that works like a video game. It says, here's the point on your map. Go out there and kill these motherfuckers. When you turn it off, the map stuff doesn't fill in. So every mission objective has a thing that says like, it's west of this thing in this territory. It's north of this. Huh. And the idea is that you go and mark your map and go like, okay, let's get out there, navigate and do this. And so there are other items that you need to find. There are clues for your investigations. And those, even in guided mode, don't quite get drawn in. And so I have done a little bit of that kind of map work, and it just feels weird. Huh.
That sounds cool in concept.
Yes, there's a lot of
different
stuff,
activity to focus on than just shooting guys.
There's a lot of the stuff around the edges of it that seemed like it was really cool in concept, but the way it is all fit together just feels off. Like there's a flow problem in this game in terms of like they wanted it to be very free form and like, hey, you can kind of do whatever, there's your main missions, there are your side missions, you can make your own missions in terms of like, hey, I know that there's a weapon attachment east of this place. I'm going to go out and find it. You can pin that. You can pin 3 missions or objectives to like a pull down quest log, but only 3. And the pinning system's kind of a mess. And interacting with like what you pin and unpin. And so there are other missions you have that don't show up in the world because you don't have them pinned. And that's frustrating because you have to go into the menus. And on PS4, at least, every menu takes forever to load in and load up.
I was going to ask because even that PC beta seemed pretty rough around the edges.
I've been talking to Rory, who's been playing more of that open beta, and he said it was still an issue there.
Is it sounds like kind of rough on the console also?
It looks a little grimy.
I feel like we're getting to that point.
Yeah.
Like I played The Surge 2 on PS4 Pro, and that also runs okay, but a little questionably in some ways. Like I feel like we're just at the point now.
Yeah.
I don't know if this
everybody's just pushing these consoles further than they were supposed to go.
There's a vibe this game has that I can only this is not going to make sense. This may make sense. Okay. It's a vibe of a game where it's like someone made a sequel to a thing and maybe it's a different team or maybe it's a different platform or something like that. Remember Strider 2? Or like Strider Returns for the Genesis?
We played it on a stream at some point.
And it's like, this isn't fucking Strider anymore. Like, you've got like the basic check boxes of like, all right, that's that dude. He's got that sword. But like, it's not that, and it feels off. Mm-hmm. This game feels like that. It feels like this weird, like spin, it's a weird thing that happened post Wildlands, but it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a refinement of what came before. Instead, it feels like they took some bold chances, and some of it is really interesting, but the way it comes together just seems very fucked up. And in terms of just like going through when you first get to the social space, trying to get around that area to like complete the tutorial missions and get back out into the world so you can get back to your missions, and figuring out what missions are the important ones and all that other stuff, and the skill tree and the way the skills work and the way you upgrade your class versus your experience point level and upgrading weapons. Like there's a ton of systems in there, and they don't quite fit together. Like I've really, I spent most of my time with it so far wrapping my mind around that stuff. And like, I get it. Like all the individual systems make sense in terms of like, okay, if I unlock this attachment, I can put it on any weapon that has a rail. If I want to buy weapons, it's going to spit out at my current level. But there are multiple M4s. Like you unlock the gun maybe, but there's always going to be a higher level version of that gun, or because it's loot, right? It's not just in past games you'd unlock the gun and the gun is the gun. Now this is a game where like there are areas on the map where it's like, if you don't have a gear score of 150, get the fuck out of here. And I wandered into one because like I was riding a motorcycle from point A to point B, and along the way I saw some crates on my mini map, and I was like, shit, I need to open that because it'll have a cool like level gear score 24 hat for me to wear. And I stopped, got off, ran up to the crate. By the time the warning popped up that says, this is, if you don't have a gear score of 150, get the fuck out.
They actually tell you?
I got one shot and killed.
Okay. They do warn you?
They do warn you.
Because I was going to say a fair amount of what you're describing sounds like they played Breath of the Wild and thought, let's put some of that in our game.
There's some of that,
like the stuff about navigating without objective markers is straight out of that game. It's very much like, hey, let's make reading the environment an activity or a mechanic unto itself.
But it's not even necessarily reading the environment as much as it is reading the map, because the map is like labeled with like, this is this river.
Oh,
this
so they
is
tell
this.
you, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then like the stuff about wandering into dangerous areas. Like in that game, like they were everywhere. Like I think like, was it north? I think directly northeast of the starting plateau in that game, you could get fucked up immediately.
Exactly,
but in that game, they let you die to find that out. Where here, it sounds like there's still that layer of abstraction on top of it of like, hey, level this, get out of here.
This also sounds a little bit like Division 2. The way you're talking about like navigating through areas,
a little bit,
like because there were parts of that game where you're like, do not go off the path, and I mean, that one was more of a direct, like, here is your objective and follow this map through the streets. But you could, like, kind of look at the map of DC and
if you ran into the area that was level 26, you would get fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, it does sound in concept like it's cool that they attempted some of this stuff.
And so it feels like a game where they probably wanted to go way far in that direction. And then at some point, someone came in and said, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Like the rubber band snapped.
So like, this needs to be widely accessible to a mainstream audience. We're trying to sell millions of copies of this. what the fuck are you doing?
Yes.
And so it feels like it's this weird halfway point where if you turn off guided mode, it's not far enough in that direction to do the Breath of the Wild stuff the way you want it. It becomes slightly more about map reading, but not in the way that does. Not in the way that because doing it for the clues and turning it off a little bit here and there, like it's not rewarding the way you want it to be.
I mean, like the new Assassin's Creed games even did some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, way less
I think
about
they
climbing
use the same,
towers.
They use the same term of like guided mode versus
Right.
exploration mode
Right.
too.
Sounds like that was more successful than this, though.
But yeah, and they kind of let you know what you're in for with that. So it feels like they try to do something like that and something like Breath of the Wild or something like that more kind of open-ended, realistic experience, and that maybe they tried to do some more survival stuff. And my guess is that someone kind of stepped in at some point in the process and said, no, you need to really pull back on all this stuff and make it, more reasonable. And as a result, like the game feels off.
Meat and potatoes is kind of like the Clancy brand, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of the
Yeah. It's
Semi-tactical
mainstream, everyman military kind of thing.
totally, yeah. And
You can't get too weird with it.
Yeah, and it gives you weird. So you're leveling up, and when you gain levels of XP, you get more skill points to put into your tree, and there are perks you can equip. I haven't really found a lot of stuff on that list that made me feel like, oh, I'm like in Wildlands. There was stuff late game that, for all its flaws that Wildlands had, it's a weird game. There was late game stuff that I was like, oh shit, I actually really want that. Whether it like mitigates a system I don't like or is like a cool enhancement. Like the stuff on this list so far, there's not a lot there that I'm looking at and going like, oh, I need to do this to get this because that sounds great. And then you have a separate level for your class. Like your class is level from 1 to 10. And those are done by like almost like achievement style things of like kill 3 enemies with 1 grenade. That'll be one of the things you need to do, like to check off like 3 separate things to go from like level 3 to level 4.
Yeah, those kind of challenges are at least interesting because you have to adapt your playstyle to do stuff like that.
And I found that stuff to be like reasonable so far and fun in its own way.
Remember like 8 or 10 years ago when, I think it was the BioWare doctors were the ones that came out and said something like, it may have even been longer than that. They said something like we think RPG is sort of like the gravy on top of every other genre now.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
And it sounded awesome. It was like, oh, cool. Now I get to level up in every game, not
Right.
just RPGs. And
Yeah,
like, now we're at the point where I hear this stuff and it just sounds exhausting. Like having to level another character and assemble another set of winning gear in another game. It's just like, I don't have the energy for it anymore.
Yeah, it's
There's too many of those now.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And I think that Ubisoft, I feel like if you want a game that does some of that stuff, like I think the Division 2 is like a smoother, cooler experience. It's different, it's not quite the like open world, get out there and fuck around
Or
like,
urban
like
combat.
sandboxy type thing.
A lot more cover based stuff.
And just like authored, like fully authored missions in terms of just like you're going to start at this part of this building and by the end you're going to fight here. Whereas this is more like go to this location and do some shit. And by do some shit, I mean kill everybody. And sometimes that's kill everybody before. So like there was one quest where I had to go find a guy named Samuel who was a homesteader who was out there. The PMC was fucking with his deer traps. So I get out there and find him.
Can't do that.
And he's like, yeah, if you smoke those motherfuckers, I can set my traps up again. That'd be good. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go off into the area and smoke those motherfuckers. And then it's like, okay, now go back to Samuel and go back to his shed or whatever. But that shed is like fucking kilometers away. And I had 2 other missions that were close. So I'm just like, well, I'm going to go do all this stuff. So I'm going around doing my thing. And it just pops up and says, you failed this mission. Samuel has died.
What?
And I'm like, who the fuck? Wait a minute.
They went back for vengeance because the soldiers weren't reporting back.
They did. That's literally what it was.
Wow. That's kind of cool.
So
I mean, it sucks that it happened to you, but it's kind of cool because it makes that world feel a little more lived.
That is the opposite of how most open world games work, though.
yeah. So there was no warning that
like if you had done a tutorial mission,
if there was
where...
anything that said, hey, there's some time pressure here. That you would know to do. So instead, what the process becomes then is that mission fails out, and it's like, go into the menu if you want to retry it.
Oh.
And then I go in there and hit retry, and then it says, hey, this is going to reload the entire world state.
Oh,
do you want to do this? And I'm like, I don't know that I don't know what the consequences of that are, but yes. And then it reloaded, and it put me right outside the camp where Samuel had a gun to his head. It just placed me right there, like I had run into the camp and failed to save him. It was just like, okay, here you are. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Pop, pop, pop. Kill those 3 guys. Done. And then it turns out Samuel is keeping human bodies down below. Whatever. There's a whole thing.
Yes.
Don't worry
about
Samuel.
that. Yeah.
He's a hunter. And so that stuff's weird.
I kind of like that. I mean, it's at least different. Like it's a choice. It's like it's
right. But I guess like the only thing would be like that happens completely without warning.
Right. Like I was
as far as I can tell. I mean,
if you
unless
do
there's
like a
something
tutorial
I missed.
mission where it was like you like have to fail or something. Like I can imagine forcing you into a scenario where it's like you literally don't have enough time to do it, and then another character's like, "Oh, out here time moves fast, and you gotta like when you start a job, you gotta finish it."
Or some kind of phone call that from a radio thing from Samuel going, "Hey,
there's like a truck.
I'm in trouble.
There's a big truck outside.
I'm in trouble.
Dudes.
Please come help me."
Also, there are bodies in my basement.
Yeah. Like anything that implied, and if there was anything like that, I completely missed it. And I feel like there's so much weird information coming at you from so many different ways that it's very easy to miss stuff and feel lost in the menus, as opposed to just like out in the world doing your thing. It's like, okay, wait, I need to go here and highlight this and pin this. And then, hang on, I'm trying to find this. And then I investigate this to find where these attachments are kept. And then, okay, that highlighted something else on my map I need to go do. I need to go do this. And it's just like, it's a lot to manage. But there's like cool ideas. Like there's a whole separate area, another whole menu called investigations. And it's literally like questions your character has about the state of the world. Like, who sunk my boat? Or like, who the fuck, like how did these helicopters go down? Or how do they keep this cave safe from the drones? And some of it's like really benign stuff that's just like you go talk to people and they tell you and you go, oh, that's how you do it, huh? Resolved 300 XP. But then some of it is like, where the fuck is the head of this tech company? Okay, and it'll, if you highlight over the clues, it'll say you'll get this clue for finishing this main mission. You'll find this clue out in the world. You know, kind of just let you know what you need to do it. But it's like an interesting way to convey information to the player about the state of the world.
Yeah.
Even if the menu itself, I think, is like clunkier than it needs to be. Like there was one, you find a guy, or one of your guys makes it out. Like your whole, most of your team gets slaughtered in the opening minutes of the game. And then you catch wind of like, oh, one of your guys is at this fishing village or whatever. And you're like, oh, fuck, crazy. Let's go find him. And you go find him and talk to him. And in the conversation, like there was nothing untoward about it, but I found myself wondering, like, I wonder how this dude got away. His leg seems pretty fucked up. And I went to the investigations menu, and it was literally like, how the fuck did that dude get away? Huh. And it was like, these 2 clues will tell you. And like, I think that dude's fucking dirty.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that dude's dirty. Because when I told him I saw the bad guy, he was like, no, man, that dude would never turn on us like that. I'm like,
But now you have the clues.
Yeah. So that was how I like found myself like running off in some completely other direction to find clues and do all the reconnoitering on the map and stuff to try to find this stuff. And then I just got murdered. And I was like, all right, I'll come back to this later.
Crazy.
So it's like there's interesting stuff like that around the edges of it, but the way it's presented and the way you have to filter the menus and do all this stuff to get to the cool shit in that game is a lot. It's more than it probably should be, and I think that'll kind of be a turnoff. But there's neat stuff. I mean, I said the same thing about Wildlands, but for very different reasons. Whereas like Wildlands, eventually the action got so comically fucking lopsided that it was just like it's just fun to go around and murder all these people, and the co-op is what it is, you know. So, but this there's like there are interesting ideas at work in Breakpoint that I don't. And you know, maybe I'll change my tune on this one too by the end of it, but like I don't feel like their ideas are very well realized in the game because of just the way the menus operate and the way some of that stuff works. But they, at some point in development, some people working on that game went for some shit,
right? And
at some point, my guess is that someone came in over the top and kind of said like, yeah, pull back on that. But maybe they just, you know, maybe that's the game they wanted to make and they don't achieve either end of it in terms of like the super accessible, easy to play menu thing or the like kind of harder core survival thing. Like it's neither. And it's in the middle in a way that is uncomfortable and weird and doesn't feel right. But
I'm glad they had some ambition at least.
Yeah, totally.
Because when I first saw this and it was just like this Ura-esque military shooter in a jungle open world with loot and realistic guns, I was just like, man, like we've done this so many times.
It's still that. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
but I mean, hearing that
it's
got some ideas is a little refreshing at least.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to spending some more time with it and trying out the co-op and stuff like that to really get a better sense for it, because it's just
maybe it comes alive in co-op in a way that it doesn't by itself. Who knows?
Yeah.
Y'all got any other games?
Yeah.
What you been playing?
Got that Code Vein, man.
All right,
That came out this last Friday.
Right? Did I hear a grunt,
A grunt
from somewhere?
or a groan.
I've just been seeing a couple things of that game. It's like, oh yeah.
So we did an unfinished of this, Ben and I, not too terribly long ago, and I don't think my feelings have changed that much since then. It's still like I'm optimistic about it in that on paper this game seems like my kind of game. It's very I know it's reductive, but it's like this is a Dark Souls.
That's where we're at.
Anime inspired game, and it looks and it feels and it plays a lot like you'd expect. There's no real surprises there.
I saw that your safe area is like a bar.
Yeah. It's your little hidey hole. You hole up with a ragtag crew of misfits. And
what is your bonfire equivalent?
Bonfire equivalent is a missile, M-I-S-T-L-E.
Oh,
it's very festive. It sounds like it looks like white ivy. It's pretty. Anyway.
Like anime, it's pretty.
So you play as a revenant, which is basically a vampire. You need blood to survive, and these missiles actually provide these blood beads. So you're researching, how to like harvest these essentially, and where these big blood streams are coming from, and such. You're a scientific group, of sorts. So you're out on a mission to discover these mysteries. Or
so
whatever.
you're not a Dracula
no
preying on small towns and people. You're
there's
like
definitely those
science vampires trying to come up with
I'm
these
a science
Soylent
vampire,
or like the Beyond meat equivalent of blood.
Exactly. But there's definitely those types out there.
Okay.
And there's even more evil types. Once you like cross a
Like a
line,
Nosferatu.
you kind of become and they're called the Lost, and those are the main enemies of the games, and they're very like Bloodborne-esque, inspired, just disgusting and gross. and
But like
whatever.
that deliberate combat feel.
Yeah, it's definitely got that. So that falls, I don't know, in direct opposition to how like games in this vein kind of play, kind of mashy, just like keep swinging until the shit's dead. You have a stamina bar, and you carry a big sword, and you can swing it maybe once or twice, and then maybe roll out of the way, and your stamina bar is gone. So it doesn't really lend itself well to that like style of.
I found, because I played it before E3 a little bit, and found a weapon that was like a lighter sword that you could swing more frequently.
Sure.
But even that didn't feel like it turned it into
feels
the
ineffectual.
mashy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It didn't. I got into a boss fight with that, and I was like, oh, this super sucks.
There's some nuances to some of the weapons. Like I'm finding ways to like juggle enemies up in the air and stuff, which is kind of cool. But it's kind of few and far between.
Yeah.
You also have the equivalency of like a mana meter. I forgot what the hell they call it, but it's kind of interesting in that you can like your bayonet for example, you can carry two weapons, but this weapon is more of a long range. It's got a quick blade on it, but the secondary is like these blood bullets that you shoot. And that consumes mana. But in the middle of like a combo or something like that, you can do like this move that actually grabs them and steals mana, like sucks mana away from them. So it's interesting for sure. I'm still pretty damn early in the game, and it's been kind of punishing. I don't want to call it too hard. Like if I'm just careful enough, and I can get through this. Much like a Dark Souls, Bloodborne style game, but. At the same time, like I've been really impatient, and like when I get hit, it's like 45% of my health, and the flask, like the SS flask equivalent that I have, only heals like maybe a third of my health at a time, and I've got like 4 or 5 of those like right now. So it's been a real slog. You can die quick, you can get pushed off ledges, and that's super frustrating. Especially when you've got to like trudge through the same fucking bullshit layout of enemies, again and again and again. And you can feel yourself sort of getting better at it, but at the end of the day, it's just like, why do I have to keep doing this? Oh, it's just that kind of game.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem
The environments are
worth it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I like in terms of like games you would grind against to get better at.
I'm
and
not
all that
getting
other
a
stuff.
ton of
like,
not getting a ton of payoff for this.
Yeah.
Like the loot that I'm picking up is very bare bones. It's certainly not better than the shit that I already have.
it's like the characters. One of the things they were pushing back at E3 was like this idea of like, oh, you can totally like respec the character and all these loadouts and all this other stuff, but none of that seems.
It is kind of interesting and it's a little overwhelming actually. So instead of a class that you're leveling, you get something called a blood code, and that's the equivalency of a class, but you're not leveling it. You can buy skills, once you have it equipped. But right off the bat, they give you a few different choices. Melee based, kind of spell based and ranged. But then they get a little more specific as you acquire them. You'll find them in the world from beating enemies, find them in treasure chests, whatever. But once you equip that blood code, as it were. That's your loadout, essentially. So you get like access to a whole new group of spells and abilities and stats as well. So it gets really granular. But none of it, like I've just been sticking with the regular like assault class or whatever, like the standard fighter. None of them have seemed all that interesting, to be perfectly honest. And that's a lot of this game so far. Like they've got a concept. They're going for it. It's not interesting to me in the slightest. I'm really having a hard time sticking with this game for whatever reason.
It just seemed to kind of lack like a soul, Right. It has like
lacks souls,
but I mean, not even in the pun way. Like it's just a game like okay.
But yeah, that I didn't spend a ton of time with it. But my time with it is like this just feels flat,
missing
and
that
by the
special
numbers,
something.
Yeah.
and like they've come up with a couple of areas where they're like putting their spin on the concept, but that
it
stuff
really just
never
feels like
seemed-
somebody sat down and was like, we don't have a Dark Souls yet in this anime style, like in this
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of God Eater / whatever you want to call
Right.
it style.
Who did development on this? Was it
ooh.
CyberConnect or somebody?
No. It was.
Marvelous.
I want to say it was like part of the God Eater team.
Okay.
They do have some God Eater tie-ins. Like some of
Alright.
the weapons and stuff.
This just says Bandai Namco. did it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I think
because I was wondering, like it's like Namco of Dark Souls,
Yep.
but but
Like-
maybe they just made their own. They're like, From's not going to do it. We're going to make something.
Oh, there's
else.
a team called Shift also worked on it.
there we go.
That worked on pretty much every God Eater.
Right.
Okay.
And
So yeah,
and
exactly.
Freedom Wars.
If I step back, I can see what they're going for. And like I said, on paper, this sounds like something I'd be interested in. So I'm optimistic. And I see some nuances in the combat that seem interesting and kind of fun to do. But I've got a huge hurdle in this the early parts of the game here that I'm really having a hard time sticking with.
Like loot drops and sets and loadouts and stuff are actually like the one thing that the Surge 2 does well in that genre. Like otherwise,
Yeah.
like this, I actually really like the Surge. Like, do you
Yeah.
remember Lords of the Fallen?
Yeah.
A little bit.
How
yeah.
Dark Souls-y
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah.
Totally.
Same developer, but at least they was like, okay, nobody's really doing sci-fi Dark Souls. And,
Right.
like I thought the Surge was actually really cool, but
Yeah.
like
Same here.
had a lot of room to grow, and I don't think this game really grew into any of that potential. It still feels very rough.
Okay.
It still feels a little.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to use the word budget, but
Yeah.
there's some just issues of kind of fit and finish with it. But they really leaned into that model from the first game where you can target limbs and head and body, and cutting those parts off gives you recipes and crafting materials for that same body part on yourself.
Yeah.
I
So
like
it's
that
like,
idea. Yeah.
You see a guy and you want his helmet, cut his fucking head off, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get the crafting recipe for that helmet.
Yeah, that's
And then
cool.
continuing to cut heads off of those guys that are wearing that armor
We'll upgrade it.
will
right?
drop the mats that you need
Yeah.
to craft and then
Okay.
upgrade that. So it's like a really nice kind of hands-on way to just decide how you want to build.
Yeah. There's a logic to that.
And it's just the game has a pretty clever like interlocking system where when you upgrade, your core power goes up, and core power feeds into basically everything you do. Like armor has core, it even looks like a little battery meter on a cell phone. Like it's very familiar. But like every piece of armor has a core power requirement. Like mods that you put on, pretty much everything you do So you just sort of decide how to mix and match to kind of maximize what you want to do. But
Yeah.
like the mod system in that game, and this is also like something they did in the first game, but mods can be straight sort of beneficial in a mechanical way of like, oh, like you heal more per your SS Flask equivalent. But there are also mods that straight up give you like UI help.
I like that we don't like no one. I imagine this is everyone, but
I
no
don't
one
know, man.
bothers to remember
I
the
don't know,
names
dude.
of
It's
the
a-
individual things
It's a
for these games.
It's a fucking meta boost auto injection or
Sure,
something. I don't
like
know.
whatever. Like, who
I don't
cares?
know.
SS Flask got there first. So just
You know,
yeah,
actually,
it's fine.
the way they even handled that is
It's called a Dragon Heart and Remnant.
sure. Actually, the way they even handle that is interesting because you've got health and stamina, but as you hit it, guys, you actually build up battery charge, and you can cash that battery charge in to refill your heals.
Cool. Okay.
Or you can use
Wow.
it to do the execution, like cut off moves that give you the mats and stuff. Like
That's cool.
It's a cool way to customize, and like
It's almost like Cube World.
oh no, the only thing I was gonna say is that the implant or mod system, like some of the mods you can install are just like, hey, this one shows the health bars over the enemies, or this one shows you indicators for which direction to counter a hit that's coming in. So you can. The idea is basically you can disable these like UI indicators and use those slots for like more health or like make more mats drop or whatever. You know, like you
Right,
can
yeah.
sort of make the game harder for yourself
Yeah,
and
but get
customize
rewarded.
those slots
That's
with
interesting.
other buffs. Like that whole system, like the character progression system in that game, I feel like is better than a lot of the stuff that's layered on top of it. But it's some interesting stuff.
And then Code Vein is multiplayer.
Yeah, there's
Also,
a multiplayer co-op as
Yeah.
well. I haven't been able to try that
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
but yeah, it seems very much like in line of previous like Souls games.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you'd kind of summon someone in, and they kind of
Okay,
come in and
all right.
help someone out.
That was the one thing when we were playing it. That build back then.
They didn't
Like
have.
it wasn't always it wasn't always clear. Like, okay, is this going to be like, hey, let's join a game and go, or is it
Right.
going to be like a summon situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone's
All right.
ready. They do a lewd gesture at you, and then
Yeah.
you go fight.
Great.
Yeah, I did customize that as well.
Great.
Yeah.
blue gestures.
There's a stamp. So when you do your loadout, your like custom emote, you choose, your physical emote. You choose, what you say, the vocal thing, and then you choose a stamp. And they have a stamp in there that says "We pre-ordered."
Okay.
I definitely chose that one.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Hell yeah.
I want to be able to
I just want every game
let
to
everyone
have
know.
PSO simple chat.
Right.
I want to be able to
I miss
have a
that.
thing that says like, okay, no, and has a frowny face, and then it goes, wahoo, whenever you use it. That's all I want.
It took 10 seconds, maybe more, to scroll through the amount of eyebrows that there are in the customization of Code Vein. It's
Hey, the eyebrows are the window to the
astounding.
soul. You know what they say.
Yeah, that's
Aren't they the
true.
window sills?
One more thing I'll say about Breakpoint. When I got into the character creator, and it was just like up close shots of like greasy military heads.
Yeah.
My baby did not like that.
Oh,
She started crying. Like these big greasy heads. She was like, all right, okay, all right, let's just go.
How many different types of tribal tattoo are there in that game?
Enough. It's got right arm tattoo, left arm tattoo.
Okay.
It's got, like I said, I put the
Tramp stamp.
like
Is there
it's like a Scottian kind of like that long,
Of course.
shitty goatee.
Yeah.
I think Scottian wears whatever. I'm not
I think he still
throwing
does.
anything about Scottian. Scottian is great.
He's yeah.
And he pulls that whole look off. But like,
Absolutely.
this
Still.
dude looks like he fucking is late to the Static X show.
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I watched a video of Scotty in it like a month ago. It's like that beard is gray now,
Great.
but he's still rocking it.
Fucking A.
It's like maybe better now than
Fucking
it was
A.
before.
All right, good.
All right. On that note, I think it's time to take a break. We'll come back and talk about some more Tier 1 beards after this. Just back at it, huh?
Shoot! I shot that guy in his head.
Shoot him in the dick.
The servers for this are on fire. Also, I'm on fire. A guy just set me on fire.
How hot is your phone?
It's not too bad. When I played at E3, the phones that they had it running on got fucking hot.
Is there much auto aim? I would
Uh,
expect there to be some.
it's auto fire. So you do the aiming, and when there's an enemy in your reticle, it shoots.
Oh,
That's the default mode. There's an advanced mode where you shoot yourself and other
Shoot
stuff
yourself.
like that. Oh yeah, that's advanced.
Video games. All right. The rest of us are going
Yeah.
We're
to.
good. We got this, Jeff. Don't
Okay,
worry.
all right.
Yeah. You go ahead and just,
If I-
let Let us know if any breaking news
During the
happens in
break, I went
in
through
Nuketown.
all the menus and found all the exclamation points that were like, fucking click here to claim these things you've unlocked and won, and here's 20 credits for this, and here's 2 crates for this, and like they're just, it's every menu in the game has like 9 more things that are like vaguely alluding to you spending money. It's kind of weird. No, it's not weird. It's expected for a goddamn free-to-play game. It's just what they are now. I don't know, but it's awkward. It's awkward.
Yeah. Exactly this time last week, I was playing The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
I'm not going to belabor it too long because there's a good long video of me and Jeff on the site talking about what I played. But does anybody have any questions? Is there anything you want to know?
Any multiplayer?
Nope.
Oh,
Sorry.
I think that was something that they didn't necessarily say at the event, but they came out afterwards and issued a statement saying, hey.
I was going to ask Jan, was that a legitimate question, or were you seeding what you knew to be a somewhat controversial topic?
both, and I didn't read the article that I saw.
Okay.
And the multiplayer is the one thing I liked about Last of Us 1.
I don't remember it very well. Like people...
It was like 3v3 or 4v4.
Yeah, like
It was-
a bunch of people in the wake of this event have been talking about how much they liked the multiplayer in the first
Yeah.
one, and I barely remember. I forgot it even had it.
Yeah.
But apparently that upset some people. Anyway, yeah, video on the site.
crafting.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Okay.
it's that game again. Like it's all that stuff from the first game. Picking up alcohol and rags and tin cans and bottles and making stuff.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
I
I like the going prone business, and you've got a bow.
Yeah,
now
the stealth,
as well.
the stealth stuff.
Yeah, that seems pretty cool.
Expanded in some interesting ways. The thing I mentioned in the video about how enemies like call each other by name,
Right.
dynamically,
Yeah.
as you're shooting them,
Uh-huh.
which feels really cool, or just kind of gives it a veracity that a lot of games don't have.
Yeah.
I read there was an interview on Polygon that with I forget a member of the team that they talked to and teased another interesting detail like that out of, which is that they are tracking the pulse or simulating the pulse of every character in the game.
What?
Okay.
Not just you, but also all
Right.
the enemies, even the zombie fungus peoples,
Why?
Okay.
to generate like the breathing sounds and stuff. So like basically like you can, if you overhear somebody panting, you know that they're in like kind of in a heightened state of anxiety or alertness, or like
Too much. It's getting too real, man.
it's not just it's cool. Like it sounds
Yeah.
like a cool ass way to handle that stuff. Like that basically just everybody in the
Okay,
game.
that does sound cool. Look,
Yeah.
when you first started, I was like, "That's gruesome in a way that I don't know that we need." Like,
when
what?
I
actually,
when I first heard that, I was like, "Wait, is that to help simulate blood spurting out
Yeah.
of people when you blow their head off?" Because I blew a number of people's heads off in that demo. But
were they people or were they zombie
no, these were
fungus
straight
people?
up. These were straight up people who now lack heads. But
They had it coming, probably.
that seems like a cool dynamic way to just
Yeah.
simulate character behaviors in a kind of a global way. Anyway, that game looks cool. You should go watch that video. Real quick, also because I was going on a business trip, I went and downloaded a couple of Switch games.
Okay.
Speaking of getting boned by RNG,
Uh-oh.
Puzzle Quest.
Oh,
remember that?
yeah.
I was like, how is this title to the Goose
Fun.
Game?
I remember Puzzle Quest.
Fondly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, playing this is mostly just to remind myself of when that game came out on PSP.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember how it fucking took everything by storm?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. That was crazy.
Like back the GameSpot office at that time was just like, wasn't that a launch game for PSP or pretty close?
No.
It was not
Maybe
launched.
not launch, but like relatively soon after. I
Yeah.
I
think.
played on DS.
Okay.
DS as well.
Wasn't it PSP first? Wasn't that the?
I think so.
Like,
That sounds right.
I remember that as the defining PSP game. Pretty
Right.
well, that and Lumina.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It was on 360 as
crazy.
well.
Yeah, eventually it came
yeah.
all over the place, but
Word. And then I remember when they finally were like, "We're making another one," and it was
Yeah.
Galactrix, and that game.
oh, was that before Puzzle Quest 2?
Yeah, I think so.
Galactrix didn't really do it
Galactrix
for me.
was not great.
Yeah. And then even Puzzle Quest 2 was
Right.
like
Yeah. It was like, okay.
somehow missing something.
There was no Henry Hatsworth in the puzzling adventure.
I mean, what is
Yeah.
I had to look
that's
that up.
now you're talking.
When are we getting a remaster of that? Did you guys play that game?
Yes, fucking
Yeah.
A,
That
man.
game ruled. That was hard.
Henry
It was one of
Hatsworth
the
is a
fucking
raw
hardest
motherfucker.
games.
Wasn't that
He'll fuck you up.
Wouldn't that like kind of require two screens though? Wasn't it
Yeah,
like
that was
platforming?
Yeah, you were platforming up top and puzzling.
Platforming
down
on top,
below.
puzzle, yeah, like a sandwich cookie or something.
Yeah.
The frosted something. yeah, anyway, playing Puzzle Quest, like that music, like all that shit, just like it all came flooding back.
Huh.
And then I got into my first battle where the enemy got like fucking 12 turns in a row.
Nice.
And like,
Yep.
I love
yeah,
it.
Okay. Yeah.
and like plus
Right.
5
now
skulls.
I remember. Yeah.
Plus 5 skulls just kept dropping in combo after combo, and then I died from full health, and I was just like, fuck this game.
Yeah. There you go. So it's Puzzle Quest.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I don't know if they added stuff to that game in subsequent releases, but this version has like 10 or 12 playable classes.
That sounds.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I definitely remember.
I
that.
remember
like
it
a
having,
druid
like,
and fighter and
4
stuff and,
or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it was.
I
Just
don't remember
like this,
that many for sure.
It's literally
Yeah,
like 10 or
maybe.
12 in this
Wow,
thing, and I
okay.
was just like, when it asked me to create a character, I was just overwhelmed. I was just like, fucking, I don't know, man. It's been like 15 years. Anyway, that thing is as good and bad as you remember it.
Sorry, are you?
No, that's fine.
Real quick, I downloaded the Goose Game.
I was gonna say
I
that
did as well.
The other game I played on the plane was Here Comes the Mischievous Goose.
I don't know. My experience with that game was I watched the trailer with my partner who had never seen it before, and we were like, "Let's go play this Goose Game. It looks fun. It looks goofy." It was like the same kind of we did the exact same thing with Donut County. I showed the trailer,
yeah.
and then we downloaded it and played it together, and it was great. This game, I don't know if I don't know if Goose Game is hard or if I'm really bad at it.
Okay, thank you, because
But-
I am thinking the same thing.
I'm just maybe not good at the Goose Game because we couldn't beat that first level, dude.
Really?
We couldn't get. Like, I feel like there's maybe something I'm fundamentally doing wrong with this video game. It's like, I was expecting this game to be like a breeze. Right? Because it's kind
It's
of
like,
like,
yeah, it's like, hey, push these buttons, watch these jokes.
yeah,
Yeah.
do a few things. But like when it came to trying to get, so like the first level is the level from the trailers and everything. It's like you're dealing with like a groundskeeper in a little garden and there's like a lake nearby. One of your objectives is to get him to wear a different hat.
Yep.
And so
This is exactly where I stopped playing the game.
we accidentally got his hat off once before we knew that was one of the objectives. So we knew it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we started trying to get that goddamn hat off that guy's head, we just like legit were getting mad at how bad.
So like I pulled, there's like an ice chest that I pulled
Yes.
over
Okay.
under the door and then got up and got the sun hat
How
off
did
the
you
door.
get up on the? How did you
It
get
feels
up on it?
broken. Like if you just run up against it, you eventually physically break your way up on top.
Okay.
It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel like something you're supposed to do, but I did it.
We just kind of thought maybe if you took
And-
his hat off and threw it in the lake, he would change hats or something. Like, I don't know.
I never got his hat off. So I never put that part together. Well, it was a sort of thing where I had done all of the other things and then ran around in the area that opens up because I got that door open and ran out there for a while and saw the walkie-talkies and was like, okay, this is that game.
Yeah.
I see what you would do with this sort of stuff.
I have to confess that this conversation is a tremendous relief.
Okay.
Like this is not going to help our reputation as like the grumpy old dudes who hate games.
It's
but
okay. Like, it's
I
cool,
think
but
that
I-
game is great except for the playing it part.
Yeah.
It's a little rough.
Yeah.
Like the art is fantastic. It's got a ton of like the first press Y
I
to
went
honk.
into that really
It was a great-ass
wanting to like
moment.
it. I hit honk a
Yeah,
bunch.
yeah, dude. Like honking
yeah.
is fun as hell. in
Yeah.
that game.
I snuck up behind the dude and hit the honk button. But there's something about like, even when you get caught, that you can just like wrestle with him to grab his keys. And
Yeah.
like it just feels messy.
Yeah,
Like, the
yes,
first
there's a
time, like-
messiness to interacting with stuff in that game.
The first time I saw Jan play the game, he was literally just like running around the backside of the
juking
guy
him real bad.
who was like kind of like swiveling around like he was in like an office chair or something. He was like wasn't even running around because he always like
Yeah.
faces the goose.
You know what? Actually, like
walking.
so now that you put it that way, like I like being the goose in that game. I
Yes.
just don't like trying to solve the puzzles very
Yeah,
much.
like
The interaction stuff doesn't feel good.
If it was maybe a little more open and you were just like kind of going around doing goose chaos and it wasn't so harshly defined as like here are your I don't know. I like being the goose.
Yeah.
I like honking. I
Yeah.
like moving stuff around.
Yeah.
I like throwing shit in the lake. But then like when I'm very specifically have like one thing that I need to do and it's not happening, it just creates a roadblock.
Or
in this
you get
game
this
that-
feeling of just like, this should work. This thing I'm
Yes.
doing, like based on the other interactions, like this seems like it should happen and it doesn't. And you're like, did I think of a way that they didn't think of, or what? You know, like there's just
Like,
there's it seems like that's a game that can very easily like disconnect.
There's a little more, like let's say, friction with the player when you try to
Yeah.
do stuff than I think it needs. or deserves.
It's like very cute,
Yeah,
I guess.
totally.
And it's like but
Like-
I went in expecting to just love the shit out of it,
Yeah,
and it was
same.
just, instead just came away going like, this is okay. I don't
Yeah.
know, and didn't feel like I was like, I'll get back to this some other time. It didn't it did not feel vital.
Like I don't get tired of running up to the dude and honking and just seeing the question marks over his head. Like that's fun. But
or getting in the bushes and or, getting in the crops and honking at him a bunch. And
what if it was kind of like a Tony Hawk style thing where there were different maps and you had like 5 minutes to do as much goose chaos as you would? I could like appreciate that maybe a little more.
Like a Katamari.
Yeah, just like a little less structure, I guess, is what I'm looking for out of that game, which is so much more like that's a game where you can sell it in one sentence, like you're a goose bothering people. It's like, great, okay, that either has sold me on the game or not. But then when you start playing, it's like, well, now I have to like, okay, I got to remember which one. Like, my partner was having trouble with like remembering which button is like bend your neck down because you have to always bend down to grab certain things, and then you have to go up certain things, and then there's the whole thing about like you can hold a button to like flap your arms out. We couldn't figure out if that was doing anything.
Yeah.
It just looks
helping you run
menacing.
better.
Yeah, maybe you run a little better, and then like you can't run if you want to turn around. Otherwise, it like you like don't have
a wide circle.
It's just kind of like one too many things going on.
Or just I don't know. It just felt kind of messy to me in a way that
it's a little disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, that game got a little overhyped, I would say. I mean, like
people have been going
definitely indie darling goose game.
I feel so much better now. I feel so
Same.
much better.
I felt broken when I was like, this is okay. I'm gonna play Puzzle Quest again.
Like neither of us wanted to admit that we weren't having fun because it's so like nice to look
It's so
at.
cute.
it's very silly, and I like it's
Apparently it's super short. Like I feel like I should go back and get through it just to know.
Yeah, I might try and drill down just like by myself so I can really get my hands on the controls and kind of just like.
Yeah.
But
last thing for me, real quick. Speaking of hype, I finally took a deep breath and started Outer Wilds.
Oh,
great.
Has anybody finished that? Has anybody played much of that?
I've played much. I've played a fair amount.
I want to get into it.
I wasn't prepared for the weird mix of like rustic and high technology in that game.
It's great.
Like there's as many like campfires and little banjo ditties as there are spaceships.
It's like
retro
they looked at the
rockets
cover of Phalanx for the SNES and made a video game.
Okay, sure. Man, I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like you go to the moon and there's a dude just sitting there around a campfire playing, I forget, or playing a whistling or something.
do you know the story behind that box art?
It's very good.
Basically, somebody who worked on the game came out and said, our game was like generic as shit, and so we needed to put something on the cover that like made people want to say, "What the fuck is this?"
Big old beard and a banjo.
So
Phalanx is not a great game.
Mountain Dew ass motherfucker on the cover.
That'll do it. Really took me a while to get my head around the flight controls in that game.
Yeah.
Which, for better and worse, I think.
I think for me, so I need to go back to it. I just got to a point where I was exploring and having a great time, and then it came time to go like, all right, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Well, you use the rumor board, right?
Yeah.
On the ship?
And so but for a while I did not know to use the rumor board, and then finally I started digging into that, and I was like, okay, I'll get back to like
I guess I could
like,
see
like once it became like, okay, here's the stuff to go do. I was like, I'll come back to this.
Now that you have to
more time.
progress, I'm still in like the honeymoon phase where like everything you do is just mind blowing and new.
Yeah.
Also, my girlfriend has gotten like obsessed with it to the point she's like, "Why don't you let me play every other run now? Because you're doing the little time loop thing."
Nice.
But like we went to the planet with a black hole in the middle of it for the first time last night, and I accidentally stepped off a ledge and fell into the black hole, and then it spit me out across the star system with all this other debris floating around.
Yeah.
And then there's a tower floating in all the debris, and I swim into that, and it's full of alien machinery.
What?
Like it does all like everywhere you go, like the nonstop like sense of just discovery and like wonderment in that game is like something that like a lot of games give you like maybe 2 or 3 times over the course of the whole game, and that game is nothing but that. Like everywhere you go is just weird, unique stuff. It feels really well designed. And actually, I shouldn't say it feels well designed. It feels designed, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like they placed everything.
It's kind of the opposite of the breakpoint thing you were talking about, where it was like,
or it is
just a bunch of things,
or it's the anti-No Man's Sky, because instead of this limitless procedural thing, it's like here's like 5 or 6 planets that are just meticulously interlocked in all these
like
cool
you
ways.
picture a big whiteboard with all the planets and like lines drawn and like notes and things,
and just like the little gadgets and doohickeys you get to pull out to like translate stuff, and like the signal scope, and man, that's a cool ass game. I'm really looking forward to seeing where that thing goes. The way it handles propulsion is insane, though, for a game that is like weirdly whimsical and unrealistic.
It's like,
the
hey,
pro-
here's
the-
this like
The propulsion
weirdly-
model is
Yeah.
incredibly like once you accelerate, you are going to keep going in that direction that fast until you apply retro rockets. It's like
It's space ass space.
yeah, yeah. Even though your ship is made out of like tin cans,
Yeah.
and man, that's a crazy game.
It's like the movie The Explorers, but without all the television stuff.
Okay, shall we news? Any other
News it
games?
up.
Let's news.
Call of Duty Mobile's out. Let's play it right now. What are we doing?
Hot
Nuketown.
hot off the @PlayStation Twitter account. Sean Layden, former Worldwide Studios chairman, has departed Sony Interactive Entertainment.
Sean later.
Whoa.
Got him.
Wow.
Oh shit!
Write that article real quick.
Yeah.
That's nicer than 90% of the replies to that tweet.
Wow.
Really?
There's a lot of people being mad about censoring M-rated games
Oh,
on the...
dude, let's not even.
What? Okay,
Let's just-
whatever.
let's
Still a
not.
fucking yeah. Okay.
It's hard to remember that.
Way to get the message out there. That's sure to make them take notice.
He was the guy who censored the games. I'm glad he's gone.
That first line made me think it was going to take a morbid turn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is with great emotion that we announce that Worldwide Studios chairman Sean Layden will be departing SIE. His visionary leadership will be greatly missed. We wish him success in future endeavors. And are
Note they don't say which emotion.
Right.
There's a lot of emotions out there.
deeply grateful for his years of service.
He wrote that. He wrote the
Well, this
whole
feels
damn
like
thing.
kind of abrupt for somebody at that level. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fib Ribbon was real good.
It's true. It really was. Really was.
Yeah, maybe he got an offer. Maybe we'll see him.
There's some other departures.
Oh, I didn't see that.
This morning I saw that some I believe is like a Japanese region head. Also out.
Huh. Interesting. I don't know what to make of that, but if I understood correctly looking into this, I forgot that. So there was that reorg that put Jim Ryan
Right.
at the top of PlayStation.
Uh-huh.
And my understanding is that sort of the regional presidents or the role of regional sort of overseer was
Yeah.
eliminated as part of that reorg.
Yeah, it was like Layden's old role changed into something else.
Right.
But even when Layden took it on, it was different than what Tretton had.
Right.
I think.
Like whatever the sort of Jack Tretton role is doesn't
didn't
exist
really
anymore,
exist
right?
the same way.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. And so yeah, maybe it's just a case of like, well, Jim Ryan got the chair. You're not getting that spot. So if you want to move forward in your career, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Also, Jim Ryan's in that spot. I don't know.
I don't know, man. That guy handles a crash zoom like a champ.
Fucking A, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of people
This might
getting
be a
out of
good
Sony
time.
over the last handful of years
Yeah.
here.
It's a. I mean, right now is like a particularly, I feel like, good time if you wanted to get out because you got the new console coming in. It's
Totally,
kind of like
yeah.
the end of an era.
It's
a
like you're,
transitional
in
period.
some ways, it's like, are you signing up for another generation
Yeah.
of this shit, or are
Yeah.
you going to go do something else?
That's
like
fair.
that's
a good point.
if there's a time to make moves like this, this is the time.
Like they are, if not the platform leader. I mean, arguably, like the Switch apparently is selling faster than the PS4 did at that time, but the PS4 obviously has the biggest number by far.
Mhm.
Like I personally think their first party output is better than it has been probably ever. Like the last 3, 5
those
5
games
years,
are highly acclaimed
Like,
and doing very well.
Sony first party studios are putting out some hot shit. Like it's pretty impressive. Some of the stuff they've been doing on the PS4.
Someone wrote an
So-
article not that long ago saying they were basically saying hey, I don't like prestige games, and or like what has become like the big kind of single player like prestige game, like like that idea of like the same way you think about like, prestige television and stuff.
I mean, like a Last of Us or something.
Yeah, and it's like it was. I think this is where I wish I could remember the author. It's terrible, but the something about that clicked with me in a way of just like, oh, like those are the games that Sony makes.
Yeah, totally.
Last of Us, God of War,
Yeah.
Uncharted, like those kind of like story driven stuff, and it's like people lament the death of story driven games in a lot of ways, and Sony's Spider-Man, like Sony's definitely keeping that going.
Yeah,
just none of those characters and worlds have resonated with me.
Is it I Don't Think I Like Prestige Games by GB Doc Buford?
I believe that is exactly it.
There you go, on Medium.
On Medium, yeah. And I didn't necessarily identify with the entirety of the article, but there was something about the concept. It's just like, yeah, some of these big ass spectacle releases that Sony's been doing for a long time. Like, it's just none of those have clicked with me really.
Yeah.
Since Horizon, but
I
even
get that.
Horizon was like, this is a very solid, wonderful gameplay experience, and like I don't know that I want to see another one. It was like it felt very fleeting.
Oh man, I love the story in that game, but I agree that the story is kind of told. I
Yeah,
don't know that I don't know that I need another
when
one of those.
Finishing Horizon and seeing them like creak that door back open just enough to make room for more was a real bummer.
Yeah,
I was like, man, if this was just like, hey, we made this and it's this complete thing. This is some of the same stuff you said about The Last of Us.
I'm trying to remember what they did to set up another one.
I'm not actually sure that I remember it now, but it was like a character just kind of like, oh yeah, the character's still out there.
Oh yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, that is the worst part of the story in that
Yes,
game.
yeah.
The like, oh,
By the way,
we thought we killed this thing.
but wait,
maybe not.
There could be way more. There could be another game's worth of it at some point.
The Aloy story in that game, the way it wraps up,
great.
is
Yeah.
fantastic. Though.
Cool. Yeah,
I get it. Their game, a lot of their games strike just a certain tone.
totally. Yeah. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. I just wanted to shout out that article because it's very good. It like gave a voice to something that like I kind of felt but hadn't quite locked in on. Like, yeah, maybe that is it. Like this, like I'm not.
Think about their last E3 showing. Like,
Right.
it was, here's our 5 big games.
Totally. Yeah.
It's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's Last of Us. You know,
And like I
it's
look at that from like a business or like whatever, like it's perfect for them. They should
sure.
absolutely do it. People love those fucking games.
But you want to have, you want to have a mix. Like, you can't just watch Prestige TV. Sometimes you need to dip into like fucking MasterChef Junior. Like sometimes you need to have a full range of games, like to make the really big ones stand out even more. I think.
Yeah, like a lot of those. There is just a very like sober attempt at emotional resonance in all of those games.
And I feel
think-
like a lot of my issue with it is like the mechanics wear out their welcome for me. In a lot of cases, like God of War, that was certainly the case of just like there's something to this, but I just don't feel like continuing to play it. I'm just not enjoying the combat enough.
I feel super strongly about that with the Uncharted games, like climbing on stuff and those kind of generic third-person shootouts, like that stuff.
Stakes-free climbing of just like follow this path and then we'll tell you more story.
At the same time, the last couple of Uncharted's are the like best written of those games by far they've ever done, but it's just the gameplay has been done many times.
It is sometimes that feeling of just like I would probably consider watching this as a television show or movie, but I don't necessarily need to see it stretched out into a game.
Sure.
I don't know. Whatever. That's
Well, if you're interested in an Uncharted movie, I have a good and bad news for you.
great.
What happened?
Well, they're making it and it's been in development.
You mean just the same?
They found a new director as of last week.
Did
Oh,
they?
I missed that.
Who is it?
Today?
Tom Holland's still on board.
Tom Holland is still on.
I found out, I think, after I said last time we talked about it, that he seems too young for a Nathan Drake, but apparently this is conceived as sort of a Nathan Drake origin story. So that,
It's the guy who did Kubo
so that does make sense.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
and Paranorman.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to
And
be
the
stop
Bumblebee
motion
movie.
now. Bumblebee movie, not that bad.
I heard it was
Yeah.
all right.
John Cena's finest acting work.
Wow.
Wow.
This
I thought it was in Blockers.
Well, that was actually really good too.
this Sean Layden thing makes me kind of wonder, like, who is the hype man or woman of PlayStation now?
Mark Cerny.
Like, who's your Phil Spencer?
Right.
Who's your, of course, I was gonna say who's your Reggie, but obviously Reggie has taken off as well.
Yeah.
Matt Kessler.
There you go.
Like Jack Tretton was pretty good in that role.
He was.
Yeah.
I think he yes.
And
I felt like Layden never, like there was just never a.
He had a different vibe.
It's maybe telling that under Layden's watch that thing went away. I don't know. Jack Tretton, he was a character. Right? He was larger than life.
Yeah, and like Mark Cerny is pretty good on the technical ends.
Absolutely.
To go out there
You
and
wanna
like,
hear him
talk
talk.
about
Yeah.
the platform stuff,
Yeah.
but I feel like just sort of an overall vision. Like they maybe need a face for
You need
that.
somebody
man
to
it to be
unveil
Like
the box.
is it Jim Ryan and Shu Yoshida? You know,
Yeah.
is it kind of like you get your,
I guess, yeah.
or Yoshida's not even really.
Yeah, like
kinda,
he has
he
kind of
kinda-
stopped being in the public eye as much.
Yeah.
Like maybe Jim Ryan will step up more into that role.
Uh-huh.
Like I feel like he hasn't gotten out there that much either.
No, not necessarily, but Sony hasn't gotten out
Yeah,
there
that's
that much
fair. That's
lately
fair.
too.
They've got a very successful platform, and they're just kind of letting it do its thing.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we've got more games for that thing you all
Yeah.
know about and own.
Yeah.
So we're going to make some more games for that, and then we'll come talk to you when we've got a new thing.
Yes, like when it comes time to convince people to buy a new box, like
Right.
they need to get out there and like tell a story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got like a year and change.
Yeah.
If rumors are to be believed. Well, unfortunately, Respawn PR never got back to us about what that Oculus game is.
Damn. I think the person you contacted is technically not PR anymore.
Oh
so
man, that might have something to
might
do
have
with
something to do with it.
Bummer. Well, whatever. They got out and showed it,
Oh boy.
and it's a Medal of Honor game.
Weird.
The king is back, baby.
Medal of Honor.
Oh my
That's-
goodness.
There's a lineage.
They're making
Yeah.
a new Medal of Honor,
Yeah.
and it's a VR game.
Yep.
All right.
Medal of Honor Above and Beyond.
Above and beyond.
Yeah.
The call of the no.
No.
What?
No.
Also, apparently, being run by the guy who wrote and produced the first Medal of Honor.
Like I said, there's a
So-
lineage there. Like
Yeah.
if you trace the
Like-
Respawn back to Infinity Ward, back
Yeah,
to all
sure,
like there's
sure.
there's
Like this guy apparently was like there when Spielberg pitched the game to begin
what
with
a bizarre business
over
this is.
over 20 years ago.
Do you guys remember the last Medal of Honor game?
Oh, don't tell me, don't tell me.
man.
Was it Pacific Assault?
No,
No.
It was an
you are
air-
missing a whole era of that
Oh
fucking
God, it was
franchise.
that was the
You're
tier
8
one.
years early on
Yeah.
that.
That was the tier 1 beard shit.
Yeah.
Right. I reviewed that game. I remember now.
They made 2 of those, right? I feel like the modern era, like we've got a chase down Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Medal of Honor. I
There
feel
was
like
a
there was 2 of those.
2010 game called just Medal of Honor, and then a 2012 follow-up called Medal of Honor Warfighter.
Yes.
Warfighter.
Right.
Warfighter.
And it had like this weird like
Guy shooter.
dot matrix effect for some of the UI elements. If I remember right, like some of the menus and stuff had a just like they tried so hard, man. They got out there, they banged that drum so fucking hard, and
Those were not
had
great
people
games.
doing interviews about how serious they took the tier 1 beards and tier 1 operators and all this stuff. And I remember the fucking weird, awkward GameSpot back and forth they had at E3 when the producer of that game was like, "No, you're not taking this seriously." And like it was just like fucking crazy shit.
IGN said, quote, "This is the first time we've seen a Frostbite engine game fail to function at the most basic of levels."
About Warfighter.
Warfighter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those games were like that was EA saying, "Hey, Battlefield and Call of Duty shouldn't compete. We should make a Call of Duty."
Right.
And trying to make something that was a little more in that vein. A little more.
Yeah.
It was not. They didn't quite go all the way there either. But
Seems like it didn't work.
no, it's no one. It turns out no one wanted that. Anyway,
Well,
this is back to World War
Yeah,
II.
they're
This
totally
is
back.
like.
Totally back to their roots on this
And
thing.
it's a VR game, and it's a shooter where you wield a giant rectangle from the looks of the screenshots.
Yeah.
Like the gun doesn't look great in
No, it's
a lot
great
of those
because
images.
they're bringing back the vibe of the old
Yeah,
Medal-
the PS1 era,
the old ones you like. Yeah.
But also, it's like you're grabbing shit out of the environment and throwing it at Nazis and pans and knives and whatever else. And so,
Okay.
like, there's
That sounds kind of fun.
it'll have a competitive. It'll have multiplayer.
Yeah, like they're
it'll
saying
have-
full length campaign and like
Oh, so this
multiple
is, this is
multiplayer
like a
modes.
full video game.
Yeah.
This isn't like that like Darth Vader experience thing where it's they bought
Yeah.
they like somehow managed to buy a license and then they're like, "Here,
Well, no,
Just
that's
throwing pans
Lucas
with
made
Darth
that
Vader.
thing. Like
Oh,
that's
re-
yeah,
oh.
that is they did not have to buy that license. They are that license.
Yeah, I think ILM made that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Um,
They're like, we got these Darth Vader models just sitting here. Just sitting here.
What to do?
It looks like a Medal of Honor game. Like that footage they put out, like it looks like one of those,
It's brown.
except in VR.
Yeah, like looking at the footage, it looks like a VR shooter to me. But with some environmental interaction and stuff.
This guy just threw a knife into this guy's head, though.
Yeah.
That looks okay.
That's VR.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
Probably the last thing I would have guessed.
Yeah.
I don't know if they gave a date.
I think it's next year.
Okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Strange.
But hey, like that's I think there's probably room to do a full campaign shooter and just
Yeah.
if
In-
only
in
just
VR.
to see how it goes.
Sure.
Like if that's what people want. That was announced at Oculus Connect, where they also
Yeah.
announced like you'll be able to use a Quest on a PC.
Yeah, I saw people talking about that.
Yeah,
What
there's
is
like
the-
USB-C connection to the headset, and it will act as a
harness like GPU power of the PC.
yeah. It'll,
Okay.
like basically it'll behave as a Rift.
Oh, wow.
Is the more or less
Really?
the idea.
Shit, how did they not announce that before the thing came out?
Yeah.
Because they probably weren't sure if it was going to be fucking possible
Maybe.
at some point.
But just that seems like a huge selling point for that thing.
These
Right.
seem like good. I think it was on this podcast maybe a couple of weeks ago. We were wondering about the future of Oculus because they had kind of gone quiet. Since
yeah,
the
it was like
Quest.
there was talk that they had canceled some headsets and maybe kind of like scaled back on that front, and the software efforts have seemed a little strange. They
But,
got
I mean,
some
this
stuff
looks
coming,
like
but
they're at least trying still. Like
totally like this because the Quest. They said that the Quest is responsible for 20% of their total like hardware sales, like their install
that
base
seems
overall.
low.
Like
Well, it just
the
came
Quest
out.
has not been
I
out
mean,
that long.
It did just come out, but like that seems like the one that's going to sell the most.
No,
to me.
well, no, because they've been selling the Rift for a long time,
Right,
and the
but
Rift
this-
was the first one out. So everyone who said like, "Oh shit, VR," like all those early adopters bought Rifts.
Yeah, but this is like the wide market appealing one. This is the you don't have to have a mega computer.
I still think that
Solution.
there's like a huge uphill battle for VR in general.
Oh, totally.
I
like
agree, yeah.
with those just the general headwinds that I think VR is
Yeah.
dealing with overall. I look at 20% in that short period, like
Okay.
since like July, and you just go,
Yeah.
Okay.
Has it really only been that long?
it came out like right around E3.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, for some reason I was thinking like a year, but
yeah, and it's in June. It was right around E3.
okay.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So they've and it's a good device. So if they can find ways to make it work with a PC so that you can leverage that stuff without having to go out and buy a Rift and set up sensors and all that other stuff, that's cool. The other thing they announced was hand tracking. So they've done
Good shit.
your controllers and obviously like the kind of touch controller style thing. Now they're just saying like, oh, we're just going to track your fingers. Like out of the headset, I guess. Like I
wow.
don't think
All
you're
right.
gonna have to like tape stuff to your fucking hands. It looked like it was just I didn't I wasn't
Huh.
at Oculus Connect, but that could be really cool.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Neat.
No more buying a Leap Motion and bolting it to the front of your headset. So I don't know. Like that's like, but also big software development and all that other stuff. Like what is Oculus gonna chase down? Like this is a big deal. I mean, Medal of Honor is a big, long-running franchise, and they're saying they're going to do a fully featured campaign and multiplayer and all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's larger than the average game coming to those headsets.
For sure.
So, and from a studio that has been doing fucking fantastic work.
Yeah. Apex Season 3 starts today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that new map.
New map. Yeah, we'll see. Whatever. That's there's still some part of me that is just enamored or like really interested in just like what the fuck is happening with VR? Where's that going to go? What's really going on? Because you saw a lot of devs, the smaller studios that kind of like flocked to it when there was a lot of money, suddenly be like, oh, there's no money there anymore.
You mean like capital?
Yeah,
You mean, like,
there's
people
no
funding?
way to get
Yeah.
funding for a VR game. Like that ship has kind of sailed. Like Oculus is out there funding games because who the fuck else is?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the way I heard it was that they weren't even necessarily going as hard as they were. They do have a lineup though. So, and Connect was like them kind of coming back out again and saying like, hey, here's the latest. But we'll see. Stealth boat game, stealth kayak game
right.
still has to
Kayak.
come out. Phantom Covert Ops.
The TAC Yak.
Yeah, your tack yak
Coming at you.
still has to. That's tactical cognac. It's a different thing.
Oh, right.
The ladies' man drinks that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that different than tactical cognac?
Absolutely.
Okay. Brain Age.
What?
Remember that?
Yes. What? Wait.
No.
What?
They're making a new Brain Age.
Fuck. Really?
Well, you didn't know?
No.
With a stylus. An
What?
official stylus.
They're making a new Brain Age.
Motherfuckers. What?
Dr. Kawashima
Is he back?
back at it.
Yes. All
Or
that
right.
fraud.
According to, it's only announced for Japan so far, but his screaming polygonal face is certainly featured in this footage.
There's no microphone on the Switch, right?
No.
No.
How am I to yell glasses at him?
Well, download the app.
God.
Yeah, probably.
Open your phone.
Damn it.
Do not
I mean,
unlock.
It would take a microphone, I believe. Like you can plug a microphone, like a
All right.
headset mic or whatever,
yeah.
into it. I
I
think.
want a microphone that just on the side of it says in quotes glasses, because it knows that's all you're going to do with it.
Maybe there'll be some optional support or something. But yeah, coming out in late December in Japan.
Fucking wow.
Not announced for the U.S. yet, but
They should do that. They should bring that to the U.S.
I mean,
Yeah,
look,
man.
he's right there. He's just there on a Switch.
Look at that guy.
It's just
I wonder if the Japanese version will be in English, or if they'll just do simultaneous launch, like if they'll just confirm it for
maybe.
launch here. And
I think it just kind of showed up on Nintendo Japan website.
How'd they do it before?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know
I
if
think-
it was a I thought it was simultaneous.
I thought they
but-
got big in Japan before they came over here.
Really?
I think you're right.
That's what I remember. But
Huh.
that's.
But I'm just thinking in terms of like, could I buy this off the Japanese
Oh,
eShop and
right.
then my English Switch will just run it in
Right.
English?
get it either
But
way.
you need that stylus, man.
Looks like there's a fair amount.
I bought a bunch of styluses.
You
I-
need
I do
this
need.
one.
If does it have a? Is he on it? Is he rendered
this,
on the
this
stylus?
just looks like a featureless gray stylus.
Man,
There's got to be something cool about
give me
it.
something. Shit.
Looks like there's a lot of math in it. So
Oh no.
Yeah. A lot of finger counting. I saw.
the universal language.
Yeah.
People are going to be playing Project xCloud next month.
This month.
Which people?
It's
God, it is October.
This month.
Shit. It's October.
Also, it's October.
People are going to be playing Project xCloud this month.
Interesting timing on
Yeah.
this.
Huh.
Maybe
It's
it
just
lines
a
up with a certain other
Yeah,
tech companies
what is it?
streaming.
They
Mhm.
said
Stadia.
they've been saying for a while that they were going to start trials later this year.
Uh-huh.
still.
Also, I don't think they've got much to worry about in terms of like the Google messaging has not changed or elaborate.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they've just been in a holding pattern since
Who?
before E3 Stadia.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like nothing's happened with that.
Well, I mean, they're doing their founder launch.
Yeah,
this month,
they
right?
announced all that stuff. It's November, I think.
Is it November?
I don't know anymore.
think
I
so.
pre-ordered.
I'm looking
one.
at their-
I don't know.
Okay.
I
I thought it was October.
No, it's November, but they don't list a date on their site. It still just says November.
I thought it was the 30th. For
Well,
whatever
even better,
reason.
they're beating those motherfuckers to market.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about stuff, like subscription services and all that other stuff, Sony lowered the price on PlayStation Now
Yeah.
Oh,
and
did
added
they?
like GTA
So,
5 and a bunch of other
$10,
shit.
yeah.
God of War is on there.
Huh.
That's- and those are downloads, not streams. Or
Yeah.
I guess they can be streams, but
Yeah, they're taking signups now on the xCloud website
Cool.
for people to get in and try it out this month.
Now, does xCloud tie to Game Pass at all?
I don't think they've really clarified that stuff. I think they
not necessarily.
hasn't all the language so far been like this is like a development project, not
Right.
not a product offering yet.
yeah,
something like
You
that?
could envision a scenario where like maybe instead of Game Pass Ultimate, you have Xbox Live Ultimate that is
Yeah.
the cloud streaming plus the library.
Like they could totally come out with the new Xbox and just say, "Hey, if you've got Game Pass Ultimate, you also can stream any game on there
Right.
for no extra charge," and that would be huge. Like that's a pretty big deal,
Right.
Because I was more impressed with the way that thing played at E3 than I expected to be.
Yes, it worked.
Like we did the active reload test.
Yeah.
Like that was
Which those windows are,
nice.
that's not fighting game narrow, but
no, but it's specific timing, and I
Right.
think we both got it on the first try. Like,
exactly.
that's,
It felt like you could play a lot of types of video
Yeah.
games through that connection.
Playing Halo 5 was pretty eye opening on there because it's a 60 FPS game and
Yeah.
it felt pretty good.
Yeah.
Kind of a limited rollout as far as games and
Yeah,
platforms
it's,
that they're going to be
the test is
supporting.
only Halo 5, Gears 5, Sea of Thieves, and Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct. There we go. All
And
right.
it's Android.
And it's Android only for now, the test. And they say that you'll need at least a 10 megabit down connection to do it.
Okay.
I have that.
Kind of makes me sad I don't have a good Android device to try it on. 'Cause
Playable where? Just on phones and tablets?
I think that's the
Um,
initial test they want
not
to do
consoles?
is designed to be that. And
Okay.
I think that there's 2 tests to sign up for.
Oh, it does say phone or tablet, yeah.
And so one of them is the play from their streaming center, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's a separate beta for play from your Xbox.
Yeah, so I
Oh,
feel like
interesting.
they
Okay.
talked about that at E3, and I
Yeah.
feel like that has not gotten enough attention because it's
Well, that's the thing that until you like, that's going to be a very, very personal. Like their performance is going to be very connection dependent. Where it's like, okay, now it's not only, their streaming centers you can count on. Hopefully to be fast enough to handle shit. But now it's suddenly like, okay, where's the internet where I am, and where's the internet at home?
what's the route from my house to this hotel I'm in across
Right.
the country, and
Because like I play Steam Link in my house, and it's not
Yeah.
good enough
And-
for me to want to do it.
and what is the upstream on my ISP offers.
Right.
Like there's a bunch of factors there that streaming from your house to somewhere else could gum up.
Yeah, so it's like I think that's really interesting, and it's cool that they're going to allow that or whatever.
Yeah.
But something about that doesn't like it. It's like okay, that sounds like something that will not work as well.
Maybe
that's my
or some
my
people
gut
it'll
feeling is like
probably
oh
work
that's
fine
yeah.
But actually, the thing I remembered that was weird about that was the idea of lending your
Renting your
Xbox
Xbox out,
for
yeah.
other people to
Yeah.
play on, and then that gets into weird territory of like.
I think that's when you get into the territory of like this is not necessarily a product, but it does
Yeah.
open up a lot of potential
Yeah.
for things they may think about down the line. But I wouldn't get too hung up on the rent out your Xbox
That stuff.
CPU time.
That may never actually
to
come
other
to
people,
pass
'cause
because
that-
that's
that-
such a weird thing.
Yeah.
What if you could like earn credit toward Game Pass or something for doing that?
Right. You would expect that you would get something
Yeah,
out of that.
because you're going to be paying for electricity if
course.
people are running your Xbox all the
It's
time.
like I'm getting paid to Bing things.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
I see people talk. Do you do that stuff?
Yeah.
I see people talking about that stuff, saying that they basically pay for their Xbox Live by doing all the Bing challenges.
You kind of can.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up paying for half of a year of I got like not a full. I got a significant discount on some Game Pass or whatever the
With
fuck
the-
it
with
was.
the Bing
with
stuff?
The Bing shit. I did it for like a month or two.
I got in on that $1 promotion they did for
Yeah,
Ultimate,
I did that
and
too.
now I'm set for like 2.5 years.
Well, also, I don't like Bing.
No, it sucks.
Like Bing is really good if you want porno.
Yeah, that's about it.
If you're searching for if you do any video search on Bing, unless I guess
you find like a YouTube result with 600 views instead of the song you're looking for.
yeah, and then like 9 like blurry thumbnails that are porn.
Yeah.
They're really good at indexing porn.
Yeah.
And good on them.
they're
Someone
not
has
afraid
to do
of
it.
it.
No.
They're not cowards like the Tumblr or I guess Yahoo people.
Right. The WordPress people now. They
Well,
sold it.
What?
LiveJournal.
Oh, wow.
No, I think all that's the same thing
Okay.
now, but it is the
Yeah. But I mean, Yahoo was the one who made the
Right.
call.
Yeah.
Those cowards.
And then someone bought it, and given the chance to roll it back, they were like, actually, no.
No, we're good.
Like, what the fuck are we
Someone bought OBS, Logitech.
What?
Yeah.
doing?
What?
No.
Yeah. 89 million.
Oh no.
I thought OBS was open source.
Yeah,
I mean, well,
it is.
that doesn't mean it
That's
can't also
weird,
be an
'cause
incorporated entity that can be
like
purchased.
a week before that,
Yeah.
Twitch announced that they were going to be sponsoring the project.
I don't know how I
Like,
feel about that.
yeah, I don't know either.
I don't think
but-
that's. I don't like
Got me
that.
taking
Well,
that
I
caller.
feel-
There are ways for corporations to
Yeah.
participate in open
Totally,
source.
totally. Like Microsoft is going down that road in a
Yeah.
pretty major way. Like it
Where
is
like you sell
possible.
support contracts
Yeah,
or
mhm,
whatever
totally.
around the edges,
Totally.
but I suddenly
I don't know. The Logitech is the first name that comes to mind when you think of that synthesis of like corporate development and open source, though.
no. But I guess
No.
I don't know enough
But
about
maybe-
Logitech these days to know
Maybe
what
they maybe they'll do right by it.
Also,
but-
like I just don't think when I think about like the hardware involved in OBS and that type of streaming, it's not the Logitech stuff. It's the capture cards. It's the
Yep.
the Elgato's of the world and the Avermedias of the world are the players in that space.
Right.
Does Logitech even do a capture card?
No,
Yeah,
I don't
just
think
like,
so.
Check out our mouse
Right.
webcam.
did somebody buy Elgato?
Yes, Corsair.
It wasn't them. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody will fork OBS and just keep it going.
I'm sure.
Or maybe they'll just maybe they'll just let it go
Yeah,
on its
hopefully-
own.
hopefully
like
they'll-
it's,
Like
that,
just
that'd be great.
Did they buy OBS or was it Streamlabs that they bought?
oh,
Maybe.
if they bought Streamlabs,
thought
that's,
it was
different,
okay,
that's
now-
a different situation.
now I need
Okay.
to actually
Yeah.
verify this.
Okay.
Also, who or what is Streamlabs?
Streamlabs is like a fork.
Yeah, they bought
okay,
Streamlabs.
okay, all right, okay, all right.
Okay.
That's okay.
What is Streamlabs?
Streamlabs
My
is
bad.
a fork of OBS that has a framework around it that is built for like chat integration and donations
Yeah.
and all the like sell your t-shirts and stuff. Like they're basically trying to like I use Streamlabs OBS
Oh, I have heard of that.
because the chat pane well I don't know if I'll use it anymore. Yes, I use Slobs but it is constantly trying to get me to like fucking, hey, sign up to take donations, sign up to do this, sign up, hey, you should be selling merch, you should be doing this. I was like, no, motherfucker, I don't need to do any of that. That's not what I'm using. But it's like a cleaner interface for raw than raw OBS. So I started using it, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna just go back to regular ass OBS.
OBS can be a little fiddly.
Yeah, and this smooths out a slight amount of the fiddliness.
But I'm glad that the core remains free.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes way more sense. Okay. Fuck, man. Got me all worried.
Yeah.
OBS never works for me.
That was kind of alarming.
I call it blue screen.
I switched to XSplit that one time and bought that lifetime license in a panic during Extra Life.
Yeah.
And used it for a while. And the way XSplit handles audio makes me want to fucking die.
It's not great. I handle that shit. Yeah,
OBS is not awesome.
OBS audio stuff
either,
is also pretty
but,
confusing.
Just an external mixer. Maybe I should just bite the bullet on that stuff and virtual audio cable out to
anybody that is truly serious about
else.
streaming on the internet will tell you to just have a second PC.
Fuck that.
Run your PC into another PC and
Fuck
stream from that.
Who the fuck has the?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Last thing about xCloud.
Instead, I bought a 2080. NV Ink will solve this issue for me.
Is that stuff mature at this point? Because the last time I looked at it, I feel like I remember them saying, "Hey, this is experimental. Don't use this."
It has gotten better.
Is it preferable to the software encoder now?
The Wizards all set it up to use it now.
I noticed it was enabled by default when I installed OBS recently, and I was like, "Ooh, is this ready for prime time?"
Well, there's a new NV Ink also, I think.
Is that hardware specific though?
I mean, it is the
It's
NVIDIA
NVIDIA.
encoder.
No, but I mean, that's maybe dependent on which card or which GPU you have.
I think the benefits will be more so on a newer card, if I remember right.
Maybe it
But
was like
it's-
any of the Pascal cards and up or something.
I
like
forget
that.
what it was, but yeah.
Last thing I was just going to say about this xCloud stuff is that on their sign up page, they don't use the word xCloud anywhere. Well, it is buried at the bottom where they sort of describe it as this is part of Project xCloud.
Mhm.
But
What do they call it?
at the top, the big text says Xbox Game Streaming Preview. So probably maybe safe to assume they're not going to keep using the xCloud name.
It wouldn't make
bad
sense
name.
to
when it launches.
that's a good
yeah,
project name.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense.
Just
as
like
a
Xbox, they won't keep using that
banner.
project name publicly, right? I mean,
Xbox Game Streaming is to the point.
They're gonna start calling it Durango Direct. Are we moving on to my favorite story?
Scorpio
from the week?
Streams.
do you want to talk about it? Because this is so
Miss Pac-Man
this
stuff.
is so exhausting to me.
Oh
I don't
my
even know if I
God.
want to get into it.
I didn't click on any of these stories when
Okay.
you sent them around because I want to hear them.
All right.
Well, are you familiar with the genesis of Ms. Pac-Man?
yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
Okay.
Because I don't understand how that came to be.
Ms. Pac-Man for the Genesis was
Like my understanding is that 3 MIT students essentially ROM hacked Pac-Man to put a bow in her hair.
Yeah.
And
Get out of town.
the part that seems insane to me is how they were able to not only get away with it, but actually retain the rights to the character. Was like there must have been some kind of legal challenge.
Yes, absolutely. So, the legal challenge primarily went to Midway because Midway put that game out, and Namco was like, "No, your Pac-Man rights don't give you the rights to make a sequel."
Wait, they put out Ms. Pac-Man?
Yeah.
Okay.
That does not give you the rights to make a sequel to Pac-Man.
Okay.
And so Namco sued there, and
I see.
they got the rights to it. And then over the
So actually, if I understand correctly, Bandai Namco owns the property of Ms. Pac-Man.
Yes,
but-
they own the intellectual property.
But the what is it called? General Computer Corporation.
GCE,
Which is basically the entity
GCC.
GCC created, not the compiler. The entity created by the MIT students who created the ROM hack, like owns royalty rights to Ms. Pac-Man,
yes.
which seems insane to me. Like that would never fly today with current like IP law.
Well, I think it was like,
They put a bow on her hair. They get all the money.
Like imagine somebody making a new character in a Super Mario Brothers
Mario
ROM
2.
hack and then claiming legal ownership of the character they made in the ROM hack.
The reason that probably went that way is because they did it at Midway's behest, right?
Maybe? I don't know.
Or they started making Crazy Auto,
Okay.
and then that turned into Ms. Pac-Man.
We need to get Steve Lynn in here to Frank Spaldi or somebody. This seems insane to me, but is it possible that they reverse engineered the ROM in such an absolute way that it was like
clean room
the same-
style there.
the same way that like
so
Compact
like,
made
Ms. Pac-Man
pieces like
hardware is
IBM PCs.
slightly different than Pac-Man. It's
Right.
not quite just a chip swap, if I remember right. There was
Right.
like a daughter board or something involved.
Huh. Anyway, that's how the legal situation shook out. Apparently, these guys that created Ms. Pac-Man under dubious legalities.
I didn't know that they retained anything.
Yes.
I thought that that was like work for hire for Midway, and then at some point Namco came in and said, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Maybe that was part of the deal of the work for hire. Was like,
Yeah,
you
maybe,
can,
yeah.
like
Or
make
something
money if this is
reverted or-
used
yeah.
and whatever.
So
this kind of loops into a larger story here. At Games, who are the people who make those little mini plug and play cabinets, you
Like
know,
the
the
flashback
couple
and-
foot tall.
Yes, just like this burning heap of garbage that sort of runs a video game.
they're
Yes.
one of. We should point
Yeah.
out there are now multiple companies
Right.
doing
Well,
this.
yes. So there's multiple companies.
There
This
was-
has been the most, let's say, sued company.
I believe
doing
I believe
this
At Games was scheduled to make that Genesis Mini, and then people were like,
Yeah.
"What are you
Yeah,
doing?"
that terrible Genesis Mini.
Yeah, they've
It
made
got
terrible
reviewed.
ones in the past.
It got
and-
reviewed.
yeah,
Sent out for review. There's like, they seem like
well, as
a
we'll get into it, they
seem like
maybe
an-
have a history of not living up to what
an incredibly
stuff that's gotten
shady-
reviewed. Okay, let's just go through it. So Bandai Namco is suing At Games because they are alleging that At Games created. So they created a Pac-Man mini cabinet with Namco
Ms.
Bandai.
Pac-Man.
No, just
Okay.
normal Pac-Man. Like, and they liked it. Great, they sold
Okay.
it. Whatever. It's
Oh,
fine.
all right.
Apparently, in 2012, the CEO of At Games asked, "Can we do the same with Miss Pac-Man?" And they're like, "Nope, no way." Apparently, that didn't stop them though, because they just made it. They didn't mass produce it, but they've made some Miss Pac-Man mini cabinets. There's a photo included on this Polygon story that I'm reading from, and they sent it basically to GCC, the group.
people
Yeah,
who
yeah.
created Ms. Pac-Man.
And then they, like, I don't know if they sent it to Bandai Namco directly or somebody there sent it to
Yeah.
somebody, but it made its way back to Bandai Namco, and they're like, "You do not have."
Well, the part that really makes this fucked up from Bandai's perspective is that they have apparently been negotiating with GCC for
yes,
20 years to try to reclaim all of those royalty rights.
yeah.
And the GCC people getting their hands on this bootleg Ms. Pac-Man cabinet tanked those discussions. They called off the negotiations after they got a look at this thing.
yeah. And so, and like, you know, this first article here that I'm reading from kind of lists some of At Games' other missteps. They've got hit by a breach of contract suit by Walgreens, which they were supposed to refund $1.62 million.
Oh, jeez.
They are also involved in a something called you guys remember the flashback?
Yeah.
Yeah, they make those flashback
So
consoles.
they made
yeah.
a Pac-Man flashback that they put out for like people to test, and it was really good. And then by the time it actually came out, it was super shitty. And then they like started blocking toy reviewers on Twitter who were like calling them out, and they like got in all these big Twitter fights with people
Cool.
saying shit like, "You've never heard of companies multi-tracking product development?" It's like, no, I haven't. I don't work with that. Anyways, so all that happens.
A couple other details real well.
Oh, go ahead.
Are you getting to the
I'm getting to the
twist?
second story.
Okay. A couple other details in all this. After they kind of prototyped that Ms. Pac-Man cabinet that they weren't supposed to make, they
Yeah.
then started shopping it around to Walmart for distribution.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And then there's also this detail that Bandai Namco is alleging, which is that the review units of that Pac-Man flashback thing they did had the proper arcade game ROM, but once they mass-produced it for retail, they swapped in the Nintendo Entertainment System port
Yeah.
of
There's
Pac-Man.
a lot of NES like that's
Fucking
And then
weird.
there's some other stuff like the
plug
Walmart,
and play stuff based on like the system on like the
Yeah.
NES system on chip stuff.
It's just-
There's-
the Walmart exclusive ones had different game, like one different game and stuff. Like that was even worse.
Yeah,
This all just seems so shady.
So that was all that. Like basically they're getting sued. The next day, another article drops. At Games, sued by Miss Pac-Man's owner, buys up royalty rights to the icon.
Yeah.
So At Games just like went, you know what? Fuck you. We're making our own deal with GCC, right?
Yeah, so they swooped in and bought those royalty rights
And now basically,
that Namco has wanted for a very long time.
yes. So now they are being sued by the Miss Pac-Man people, but also own the royalty rights. And we should, clarify for anyone who doesn't know, royalty rights, it basically means like, if Miss Pac-Man shows up in Smash Brothers, they would get a check.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
on a TV show. Or
So GCC cashed out and they're
That's
done
the
now.
sound of it.
yeah.
That's what At Games is saying.
I wonder if that means that like Namco was fucking lowballing them so fucking
had to have
hard
been,
for
right?
so long.
Maybe.
Just like not refusing to negotiate.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Weird.
that's the ultimate fuck you move.
So like,
Yeah.
now there are these companies with all this antagonism between them, where one owns the character and the other one gets paid when the character gets used by the owner of the character. Like, it's just a mess.
So, I mean, by the transitive property, we will never see Ms. Pac-Man again.
No,
Very
Miss
possible.
Pac-Man has died.
Pac-Man just got a divorce. Pac-Man is a widower.
She's changing her name
yeah.
to her premarital name.
Crazy
Jones.
Otto. And
Miss Crazy Otto. Mrs. Crazy Otto.
yeah, right. And Pac-Man will meet someone new any day now.
Weird
All is
situation.
not well in Pac-Land.
Yeah.
Oh no, it never was.
Man,
man.
I like Pac-Man.
Mesmeron, those ghost monsters,
I like
the whole
Pac-Land
fucking
too.
Pac-Land is a bad game.
No way.
This is one of my.
I like it also, but come on.
This is one of the best like spite fucks I've seen in video games in a long time.
Yeah, sure.
It just it's like you said, it's like three antagonistic companies
Yeah.
who all hate each other.
But also, there's something that like really doesn't sit well with me. The idea of At Games owning a piece of actual.
that game seems like a questionable company.
Yeah, like that feels bad, man.
Yeah. It feels bad, but like also I don't think there was any way that anyone walked away a winner out of this one.
No, yeah, probably not. Yeah, I that all the At Game stuff that I've seen has been pretty rotten. They've built up quite a rep.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you're right. Like getting out there on social media and saying, "Well, no," like being really shitty on top of that. That feels terrible.
Yeah. But also a little good. I mean, I've had enough. You know what?
Yeah, you know.
Miss Pac-Man's, let her rest.
Sure. Okay.
Give her some peace.
The Mister can carry the weight.
Yeah.
Like let her enjoy retirement while Mr. Pac-Man grinds his bones down to dust and showing up in whatever.
I thought you meant the Mister, which runs Ms. Pac-Man quite well.
I bet.
As well as Mappy. It just started. Yeah, Mappy. Little Dig Dug lately.
I like Mappy.
Yeah.
He's a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
A little more behind the scenes strife for you. Troy Baker has come out and addressed the fact that he did not reprise the role of Reese in Borderlands 3, which I guess he originated in Tales from the Borderlands, which I never got around to playing.
Yeah.
I know people like quite a bit.
So Reese originated from Tales?
Yeah.
Is that,
Okay.
that's my understanding.
That's my
That's
understanding
why
as
I
well.
didn't have any idea who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that why?
played Borderlands 1 and 2? I don't remember Reese.
And he had been out there saying he wanted to play the character again, should that character appear in a proper Borderlands game. And then they didn't hire him to do so. And Randy Pitchford had been out there kind of playing it off, was my understanding.
He said
previous
all
public
he would say
statements.
is like he turned it down.
Yes, Randy Pitchford had been out there saying that Troy Baker had turned down the role. Now Troy Baker has come out in an interview and said that they wouldn't sign a contract with SAG-AFTRA, his voice acting union, and as such, he was essentially prohibited from taking the work.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of semantics. Like, he had to say no. But Pitchford's like, he turned it down, right?
Right.
It'd be
He
very
did.
easy to say, like, instead of he turned it down, it'd be very easy to say, like, oh, we talked about it. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like,
come to an agreement.
be a little more magnanimous,
little responsibility.
or just be like, oh, it just didn't happen, and not just be like, hey,
Right.
turned it down, fuck him, like
It's like
this
one
guy's
step
real-
away from lying. He's like not actively
Right.
lying.
I'm trying
but
to find the Pitchford quote that really. Yeah, like he tweeted that he turned it down, and then in a separate tweet he said, "With how Reese appears in the game, I don't think it actually matters at all.
Ooh.
You'll see for yourself when the game
What?
comes out, and you may disagree with me on that or not."
Because he's got a mustache.
Like,
Yeah, I guess, right?
do
Because
it.
like he's in there.
or because he's largely a hologram,
like he,
I
but
don't
like
know.
you do see him in the flesh a little bit,
and like there are other quotes from like different convention appearances and stuff where Baker was pretty adamant that like, hey, the people who created these characters should be reprising them in the new games. Like
Yeah,
he sounds like he felt pretty strongly that he should continue playing this character.
It's not up to him, but
of
I
course.
can see,
Of
like,
course.
absolutely.
No,
yeah.
obviously it's not. But
Yeah.
And like Borderlands is fucking all in on cashing in on bringing back those characters you like at this point. So it's even a little more just like, oh, you really didn't get him back, huh? Like it hits a point in that game where it's just like, remember this guy? Remember that guy?
I
Remember this guy?
could see a situation where like those characters are fine to bring back in and use, but I wonder if like the people at Gearbox feel any real affinity for them since they're not from like a Gearbox
Right,
game.
they're
I know
from
that
another
Gearbox did
developer.
work on Tales to some extent, but like I wonder if there's just a feeling like same way as like, you know, whatever happened in the pre-sequel that they didn't develop, if there's just some feeling of just like, oh, you know, we care about Lilith, you know, we care about Claptrap.
Yeah.
And Reese, who the fuck is Reese? Like, yeah,
Right.
I wonder if there's some element of that to this.
They could not care about him, but it's still sleazy to use them to evoke player emotion, to be like, hey, Reese is back.
To portray this as Troy Baker just turning down the job.
Yeah, that's the part.
And also to come out and say it doesn't really matter who plays him anyway. You'll see what I mean. Is kind of shitty
because we didn't get a number of people did not reprise the roles. If that was the follow up to that, is like, well, Claptrap's not the fucking same either, so whatever.
So
the union stuff, though, in conjunction with how big we know Borderlands to be going into all this, but then on the heels of them coming out and saying like, we sold 5 million of these, it's doing great. Like, seems like they're probably doing okay, raking in some money on that thing. You think they could have signed a union deal and gotten what they wanted out of it, right? Instead of deliberately going around it.
So statements have come out since the story originally ran.
Right.
There's one from SAG-AFTRA, which is pretty predictable. Kind of, you know, we applaud our members for standing in solidarity, and we're disappointed that Gearbox didn't choose to work with us. And then there's this Gearbox statement,
Oh boy,
which is, you know, they call Troy an exceptional talent up front. Disappointed he declined to partner on Borderlands 3 after being offered the part. There's some mealy-mouthed stuff about Texas employment law. And then at the end,
fuck off.
As a talent-owned and talent-led organization, Gearbox enthusiastically works to ensure our pay and working conditions meet or exceed union standards. We also believe strongly in hiring local voice actors whenever we can, which is why we're thrilled Troy's career really took off after working with us.
We made you. We could kill you at any time, Troy Baker.
I feel like it's just getting petty now.
Now
It's
been petty. Do you remember the Claptrap stuff? Holy shit!
Yeah, fair.
Like this is just like every week there's another fucking Borderlands story.
Yeah.
It's just another like, here's more examples of Gearbox just being
Scummy.
grimy. Yeah. Just like it doesn't you don't feel good about Gearbox. You're not like,
No,
yay, Borderlands,
which
yay,
sucks because
Gearbox.
There's so many people who work there who have nothing to do with this.
And when Borderlands 1 came out, it felt like this feel good story about like, man, Gearbox has been grinding for a long time.
Yeah.
Like this was a risky
doing this
thing for
grunt
them
work
to
for
do.
Valve
And
and
yeah,
stuff,
they did this and fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
Like this should be a feel good story, but it seems like everything that's happened since then has just been like, oh, it's another lawsuit. Oh, it's another this, another this. You're like, oh, what is it going on out there?
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so many talented people who now have to carry this reputation of just being like at Gearbox.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's a resume that has games that have sold millions of copies on it.
True.
That-
Yeah,
that's-
no. I, like from a business perspective, that's
Yeah.
fine. But like, you know, going into work, like the atmosphere there has got to be a bummer sometimes.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if it's just like defiant, or if there's like people just fucking. Why do the people hate us? Fuck them. People love Borderlands because people love Borderlands.
I have tons of friends who work at like, you know, big tech companies that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are morally opposed to on a
Sure.
fundamental level and have to figure out how to rationalize it and deal with it and push back against it where they can and stuff like that.
I've
like
heard from people who worked at that studio. I've heard things along those lines.
it just sucks for those people.
It's like
it sucks
they
for,
they're getting in the way of their own celebrations.
Yes.
Even where it's like, hey, this thing came out, and despite like all the weird news and the run up to the game's release, it's doing fine. It's you know, got this press release out there beating your chest about how great it's doing, and then by the way, let's get back in the news over this shit. Like there's just a slightly more tempered way to express these things that doesn't lead to this situation. It's just that's like just a PR failure to understand how to talk to anyone ever or something. I don't know. Maybe that's like whatever.
And it's not just Randy being Randy, like, you know, that prepared statement from Gearbox.
Which may very well be prepared by, you know, or in under
True.
the watch of a Randy Pitchford. But at the end of the day, like, it just comes off like there's a weird attitude over there. I don't know.
Totally.
Which I'm sure some of it is just like, you know, like all the criticism, like as Borderlands 2 was selling through the roof, that there was this growing thing of just like, hey, this game sucks. Like the writing in it is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like having that grow over time, I'm sure at some point, maybe you develop a little bit of a chip on your shoulder about like, hey, people love this game. They're dressing up like these characters all the time.
Yep.
I get it. Battleborn did not hit, but we still love Battleborn. Like they seem like a studio that would not let Battleborn go. Like that's the thing.
Sure.
Is like there's just a weird whatever.
I don't know with how many
I don't even
fucking
want to fucking
pop
talk
culture
about it.
references
It's
there
like
are in
fucking whatever.
Borderlands. I'm surprised I haven't seen a Battleborn one.
Also, this reminds me how long ago the Alien stuff was.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah,
turmoil has been surrounding that studio for a very long time at this point.
It's just a weird.
the Duke Nukem curse.
Yeah.
I guess.
They incited this evil on themselves.
Even that, Bobby Prince was trying to over the music in Duke. Like apparently some royalty deal he signed.
Would he do the music?
I believe it. Yeah,
Huh.
that was some royalty deal he signed with Apogee back in the day was not being honored anymore. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Speaking of back then, last story, the casting for the USA Masters of Doom TV series has been announced.
What a wonderful head of hair on that one actor.
Oh yeah,
You mean Eduardo Franco?
Yes.
Who's
He,
playing John Romero?
he was great in American Vandal. Anyone watch that?
I saw
It's
that.
the like Netflix fake crime documentary
yeah.
about the guy who drew
Okay.
dicks on the cars.
Yeah.
He's one of the Wayback Boys.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very funny.
Having
yeah.
having been in the presence of John Romero's actual hair on several occasions.
You think this is on par?
Pretty close.
Pretty close. A little Hollywood magic will bring it to the last level.
Yeah. He's playing Romero. Patrick Gibson of the OA,
Yeah.
Okay.
neither of which I've ever heard of,
Oh, he's pretty good.
is playing John Carmack.
They canceled the OA.
Yeah.
Oh, was
the
that
one
the- was that the
people are
Netflix thing?
protesting about.
Yeah.
What is that?
That was around the stories that were like, hey, Netflix lets everything go 2 seasons because
Yeah.
past that it doesn't
And then-
bring in
yeah.
new subs.
Yeah, that's one of those 2
Huh.
seasons.
Yeah.
And they were, gearing for a
That was
third.
also
That's-
like American Man.
John Carna playing Tom Hall. Previously seen on Lady Bird or Scream, the TV series. Anybody?
There's
Nope.
a TV series?
yeah, on MTV.
Oh.
Jane Ackerman playing Hannah Romero. Siobhan Williams playing Stevie Case.
All right.
What do you want to see from that show?
I just wanted to say I can't help noting the irony of being in the age group to be interested in this and never having heard of any of these people.
The only thing I wanted to see is Romero's hair accurately represented.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have that.
seems like they've
representation.
got that
They
down.
knew how important the hair was.
Pretty
Yeah,
well.
I figured they have to CG it, honestly.
they could have,
Yeah.
but no, they decided to go on
Practical
natural
effects.
Practical effects.
I mean, they've got like
Practical tress effects.
they've got a narrative for this thing that they are pretty much stating flat out. Like they describe the character of Romero as a brilliant young programmer and designer determined to become the video game industry's first rock star.
Nailed it.
He'll get
He
there
did
one
it.
day.
I mean, yeah.
The description for John Carmack is
determined to make you his. Yeah.
a self-taught genius whose unparalleled programming skill allows him to help create the first-person shooter genre and lay the groundwork for the rise of virtual reality.
That. Yeah. I mean, yes, but like. That's a weird thing to say in the context of a thing about Doom.
Yeah.
that seems more like a zeitgeist.
You're just kind of writing it back in
Totally,
because
totally.
you know what he went on to do.
Totally. Well, I wonder if they're going to like expand the scope of this thing to try to incorporate more of that.
This is weird. I
can't.
I don't
it's
understand.
insane that this is happening.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, this
just-
is like a mini series or something, right? 'Cause they'll tell the story and that'll be that. And then they'll
basically
go on to do a different game.
Yeah,
or-
they said they were going to sort of anthologize it. Like
Oh, cool.
this season would be the entire story, and if
Yeah.
they do another one, it'll be a different story.
Frogger.
I mean, it's cool that it's happening. Just,
I would love to see someone finally get to the bottom of who made Frogger.
Yeah.
just like that series of console wars. That is a series, not a movie, right?
have no idea.
I thought it was.
I think it's also going to be a TV.
I don't know.
Any of you guys watch?
Console Wars is going to be on CBS All Access.
Great.
That second season of *Halt and Catch Fire*. That's about video games.
Oh,
it's cool. It's like a good period piece video gamey thing. Maybe the only one I've seen so far that was like interesting.
All right,
I was meant to watch that show. I just never got around to it.
my work here is done.
Brad, you shut your computer and you're wiping your hands. But what about the next part of the podcast?
It's time for B-mails.
We need a new song.
Time.
We need a
Ben's
B-mail
time
song.
to pick some B-mails. Ben.
Ben.
It's just new lyrics.
B-mails.
It's not a new song.
There was a little bit of
Just gotta
sing.
It
do
samples
some
the
emails.
beat from the old one.
Yeah.
The
We
Vanilla
gotta
Ice
get
stuff.
some
Yeah.
emails now.
Kind of excited
Now.
to be on the other side of this.
1 million games.
That's a lot, dude.
Arthur's.
This email comes in from Jack in New York, who says, on the July 31st, 2002 episode of the Giant Bombcast, Ryan Davis asked the crew if there were 1 million games in existence. Ports, web games, phone games, all were included as individual games. Everyone said there is no possible way that there's that many games. 7 years later, do you think we've hit 1 million games?
Yes.
Just yesterday,
Like
we
literally every
just
port,
rolled over.
like every version of every game counts as a game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like
Puzzle Quest
probably
was the
not,
one that-
probably the things we're not counting is like translations, straight up re-releases probably don't count. But
So when I reviewed Universal Studios Theme Park on Xbox, GameCube, and PlayStation 2, those are 3 different games.
yes.
That's why you were able to charge us 3 different
That's
times.
why I was able to invoice for 3 separate reviews.
Nice.
I bought my Xbox or GameCube.
You think we're there?
Yeah.
I think between mobile games and web games and, I mean, Steam alone,
Yeah.
there's 400,000 games added to Steam every day, and they're all 59 cents.
Like they're all porn.
Is there a way to just get a number on the App
I
Store
didn't see the tag. I'm
of
sorry.
games?
I don't.
Did they break
Not
that
that,
out?
not that I know of. I bet we've reached some sort of million game mark.
Surely. By now.
What are they going to do when they see a million games standing at the gate? Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters?
No. I'm not going to call anyone. I might call Matt from Ohio, who's writing in and says, just writing in after watching you play at Jedi Outcast on UPF to tell you about my online experience playing Jedi Academy on Xbox Live. The force powers in these games were insanely overpowered, so the community basically split where the hardcore players were playing just single 1v1 lightsaber duels with force powers turned off like items in Smash. The game didn't have a 1v1 lightsaber duel mode, but the community realized you could get matches way faster by hosting free-for-all lobbies where everyone waited their turn to duel. He talks a little more about trying to get into a clan where you had to duel everybody in the clan in a line, and then you had to beat more than 50% of them, blah, blah, blah. As far as I remember, I tried out multiple times and could never beat the guy in the clan. Hope everyone is having a good Tuesday. He doesn't pose a question, but that made me wonder if you guys have ever played online games like that where you kind of created your own rules.
Shit.
That sounds like something Star Wars fans would do.
Yeah.
There's definitely stuff like this in Mordhau that when I was playing that more,
Okay.
there would be people who would just make like, they would be on the objective maps, but they weren't about pushing the objectives. They would just like form a ring around and, you duel a guy and stuff like that. But
The only WoW guild I was ever part of was just about being free and having fun. But I've heard all kinds of insane stories about like just ludicrous requirements for people to join WoW guilds back in the day. I wish I knew of some firsthand, but just like completely insane. Like you have to be available 5 nights a week, 5 hours a night.
Yeah.
All kinds of weird shit like that.
There was a Harry Potter subreddit that you really needed to know a bunch of passwords and comment a lot and know some trivia to get into. Never made it in.
Really?
Assholes.
What kept you out? Give me a question.
It was something about like, what was the prefect password in this book? And
God
I
damn.
was like on a timer and they would let me in.
I was gonna say you could just look it up.
Yeah. Jerks.
That's a lot.
Griffin.
Yes. That was that wound up being the password.
Okay. I'm in. I like to play Windjammers with the time disabled.
hell yeah. That's like an arcade dip switch thing you have to do, right?
It's like a universe BIOS cheat
Oh,
you
sure.
can turn on, but you could probably lengthen the timer in the dip switch. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to play Super Smash Brothers Melee on 4 or 5 stages, depending on where you are in the counterpick process.
I almost got into a fist fight with a guy that just like wanted to do the Mario Kart 64 like track skip shit all the fucking time. Like we'd be on Wario stage and he would just turn left and keep trying to do that over and over and over. I'm like, fucking race,
play the game.
Just fucking race. And then he'd get so fucking cocky when he'd actually do it. It's like, man,
you got to fucking hit Dan in his fucking face when he pulls shit
right?
like that.
Right? That guy.
Next email, I've got a pair of emails to read. A pairing. They go together like wine and cheese. This one is from Ross. Hello, Bomb crew. After playing a significant amount of Borderlands 3, I've realized it's just an FPS version of Smash TV. Co-op, check. Over-the-top violence, check. Assorted guns and abilities, check. The entire game consisting of moving from one designated area to the next, check. Mindless swarms of enemies spilling out of doors for longer than necessary, check. Snarky attempts at edgy future comedy, check. Compelling but ultimately repetitive gameplay, check. Prove me wrong.
I don't know that I can. Oh, it's no red and blue dudes.
No red and blue dudes.
Yeah. The game show portion of Borderlands is just a small one quest as opposed to the whole theme. Yeah. Like Future Game Show is like that's a video game theme. There's the Killing Game Show.
We need like a running
Smash
man
TV. Yeah.
Game.
Yeah, there's not enough game show in Borderlands.
Not enough Mutoid Man either.
I proved you wrong.
Yeah.
Well, there's kind of some mutated mans,
okay,
but not as mutated.
Mutоid.
The part 2 email comes in from Yair in Israel, who says, "Is Borderlands 3 the Ready Player One of video games? Both are basically a series of references that masquerade as identity, hoping you have enough affinity to the reference material to enjoy the ride. Rosh Hashanah. Happy Rosh Hashanah."
Yeah.
That's harsh.
So there you have it.
But perhaps fair.
Borderlands 3 is Smash TV meets Ready Player One.
Meets Rick and Morty. Right? I mean,
don't you mean Brick and Brody?
It's like Wick and
I hate. It's like
let it out, man. Let it out.
Speak your piece.
Rick and Morty is a good show, but the people who are the most annoying about it are like the people who just drill it home as a reference point, and the fact that that's what got imported into Borderlands 3 is almost perfect.
Al Snow has this whole thing to say about Rick and Morty fans.
Oh my God,
you should check
I
out.
haven't seen that.
You haven't seen that Al Snow clip?
No.
You should really watch that.
I'll check that out.
Good head on that guy.
Yeah.
What does everybody want?
Remarkably well said.
Oh yes, that clip. Okay. The next email comes in from Asher, who says, "I recently beat Mario World, and while watching the credits, it got to a little jumbly here. But basically, they were watching the credits of Mario World, and it gets to the ghost areas, ghost enemies. First, there is Fish and Boo, and then there is, quote, Boo Buddies, and the big, quote, Boo. Why do you think they put the Boo and the second two enemies in quotes? Is it because they are not the Boo, the one we know from Mario Kart and Mario Party, etc., but Fish and Boo doesn't have quotes, and he looks the least like a Boo. He is smaller. And there's an image here. You see Fish and Boo is that kind of blue lump dude. He's kind of looks like a dig dug.
Yep. I see where you're okay.
So what's the deal? Why do we?
I always thought of a Boo as like a Koopa or a Toad.
Yeah.
A generic and numerous.
Are you saying the Toad or the Koopa Troopa from the Super Nintendo Mario Kart could have just been one of the guys you killed in Mario World?
Totally.
Ooh.
There's Pikachu, and then there are Pikachus.
Yeah.
There's Ash's Pikachu,
right,
which would be a character page. And there's Pikachu, which would be a concept page.
Yeah.
Because it is a unit or race or something of that effect.
Okay.
I would guess that we have a Boo concept page, but not a Boo character page.
I would
or
guess
maybe
that we absolutely have a Boo character page.
The big Boo is probably a character unto itself.
We got Big Boo. We got Boo as a concept.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like how B-mails are like emails.
Right.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
But if Boo is just a character in a Mario Kart game, for example,
a B-mail is a
that
type
would
of
be
email,
Boo,
but not
a
all
character
emails are B-mails.
in Mario Kart. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, it's time for the federally mandated edutainment part of the show. This comes in from Jared in Battleground, Washington, with the email, "Why marijuana is female." Greeting Bombardiers. I've been a show since 2008 and finally had something to contribute. I was listening to the Bombcast from earlier this summer where you guys were trying to discern apex skills apex skins from marijuana strains. While looking up one of these strains, you were all astonished to hear that the smoke from the strain was referred to as, quote, her smoke. Allow me to educate. I roll joints for a cannabis dispensary in Portland, Oregon. While some plants in our world are hermaphroditic and have both the male and female reproductive organs, marijuana is a deciduous organism, meaning that the plant grows from a given seed, which will either be male or female.
Right. Oh.
Female marijuana plants produce the bud that we consume, while male ones only produce seeds. So it makes sense to refer to the flower using she, her pronouns. Fun fact, the males and females have to be separated at grow operations because if cultivated together, the females will become males and start producing seeds.
Weird.
Huh.
That.
It's
Okay.
all Mother Nature, man.
Yeah. Should make sense.
I thought that this email was just going to say, because it means Mary Jane, and that's a...
You weren't expecting to actually learn something about biology.
I did not learn anything.
I'm amazed to hear that they roll those by hand. I would figure that would be all.
They've
have
got a
sort of-
machine, man.
Okay.
They've got a
You're
machine.
operating a machine
They've got
by
a
hand.
little, they got a tray with a bootleg Sonic the Hedgehog on
Yep.
it, and they roll it through there.
Put in the paper, you put in the stuff, you pull a lever,
Okay,
and
that's
it just
fair.
rolls it up.
Yeah. That makes more
I
sense.
think. I don't know.
I would like to imagine that there's just people that are just listening to Redman's like how to roll a blunt over and over again, going, okay, wait a minute, okay, all right, okay, get my fingernail, okay, all right,
It was like half speed.
yeah, okay, hang on. I put a whole bag of ism in here. Okay, hang on. Where's the ism?
Next up, we got an email keeping on the Pac-Man talk. Hey, duders. This is Jacob. I heard last week's discussion of Pac-Man and other retro sound effects making their way onto TV shows to represent all manner of modern and vintage video games. You were totally right. I work in the sound effects on several animated network television programs, and nearly every time a video game is referenced or played by the characters, the creatives in charge will give notes like, quote, make it sound like Pac-Man, or make it sound like Mario on the NES. Part of this is that they always want the show to feel like their own childhood and will ask for sounds like games they grew up with. I've been asked to create Mario coin sound alikes and Pac-Man steadies many, if not hundreds of times. Another reason is that if the video game in the show is violent looking, they may ask us that we make it sound more cartoony, old school, or retro, so that the network is less likely to tell them that it's too violent for children. This happens so often that sound editors pretty much default to 8-bit sound effects for most on-screen video games, especially if they are 2D.
That totally
makes
makes
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what if they have like an audio network for video game sound effects?
Oh, that'd be great. So you can just make your own
Yeah.
bootleg. Like, here's a better Sonic ring sound.
yeah,
Because it
there
goes
you
like,
go.
"Tling."
I've got like software synths that are designed
Oh,
to
sure.
emulate old chips
Yeah.
that are really good, and some of the presets on those are just like already like slightly legally distinct coin collection noise. And
It's like
like
if you
that
looked
sort
at the
of stuff.
waveform, it is technically different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I want a collection of all the sound effects that they have, and like the gas station convenience store.
That's just the Sonic ring over and
That's
over
just
again.
the Sonic
That's it.
ring,
That's
but-
all they got.
Oh yeah.
But they've got other stuff too. They've got like Mario Jump and Mario Coin and
Oh,
shit.
wow. I feel like
I've heard a range of things.
you are on some next generation fucking
gas station,
gas station
point of sale.
shit tech.
That shit is
I would
fascinating. to
use
me.
Yeah.
I would use the Mario jump if I were them.
Right.
They
You
should
guys-
have Mario from Donkey Kong dying. They're like,
When it
Every
gets
time you ring
declined.
something up,
yeah.
every time just
No,
every-
when the transaction's done.
okay. All right.
That's
When it's declined, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of cartoony games, did you see somebody is making a homebrew Super Mario Brothers game that
Yeah.
looks like the Super Mario Super Show?
Yeah.
What?
Holy fucking!
It looks amazing.
It looks like Cuphead, like it's very cell animated, like
Mhm.
it looks like that style of platformer, except it's straight up that, and it looks
Oh, yeah.
incredible.
This sounds
Oh,
pretty
Like
great.
man.
I hear,
It's nightmarish. Oh my god.
Like,
the,
I hear-
pasta in the back.
yeah, like the spaghetti trees, and like just that Mario sprite looks so fucking good.
yeah.
Like I hear Captain Lou Albano every time I look at that thing.
Mhm.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's
I hope it doesn't get Nintendo'd.
it's just called no, never mind. All right, next up, a question from Josh in Colorado. What are your favorite video game character names? I'm talking ones that give a good sound, like Miles Kylo from Syndicate and Travis Touchdown from No More Heroes.
Kyle Katarn.
I was also thinking Kyle
Kyle
Katarn.
Katarn.
Kyle Katarn is just fun to say. It's like
Yeah.
this is my second favorite Star Wars name behind Kit Fisto.
Oh, jeez. M. Bison.
M. Bison.
Doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it?
Armika.
Yeah.
Ramika.
But Rainbow Mika doesn't ever sound
yeah.
right.
Haumaru.
Mike Bison sounds pretty good though.
Yeah.
When you walk that all the way back.
Yeah.
Does Tony Hawk count?
Tony Hawk counts. Tony Hawk is
Is that his real name?
Bob
Yes.
Burnquist.
Anthony Hawk.
yeah, Anthony. Yeah, sure.
Oh, whatever. I had a friend last name Hawk growing up. Like it's not that uncommon.
Yeah.
It's just like a pretty good stage name too, though.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of something.
Good ass protagonist names.
I like that's combinations of like some of these Pokemon evolutions, like a
Okay.
Jigglypuff, Wigglytuff sort of thing.
You want that alliteration, though. Like a Darkwing Duck, Peter Parker.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
double syllable.
Mm.
Right.
Boom, double 2 hits.
Oh, did you see somebody mocked up the goose from Goose Game as Darkwing Duck?
Oh, nice.
A lot of good Goose
Really
fan art
good.
going around right now. I'm into it, even if I'm not super into the game.
I think Rad Spencer is a really good video game name.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's
Like
pretty
there's no
good.
alliteration there, but it's still
Mhm.
Hey, how about this one? Mr. Do.
love Mr. Do
Yeah,
with
so
an
there's-
exclamation point right at the end of it.
Yeah. Chibi Robo.
It's fun to say.
Billy Hatcher. I like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when you put it in the context of the giant egg.
Right.
So why does Billy Hatcher something about that name sounds like he should be moving an amp?
Yeah,
Something about
sure.
the name, just something. And there's some other meat fiction where there's some
Like he's a
guitar
roadie?
tech
Yeah.
roadie
Roadie ass name.
with a name similar to that or something.
Billy
But
Hatcher.
but Billy Hatcher, like divorced from the game,
And actually
Billy
divorced,
Hatcher just
too.
sounds like a British dude who's really into getting the guitar tones
Right.
just so. And I don't know why.
JC Denton.
JC.
Oh, Johnny Cage. That's a good name to
Okay.
say.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
And it really evokes, like, they did a good job of coming up with a name that fits that asshole.
Did you guys see the Terminator trailer?
Yeah.
No.
In Mortal
That
Kombat.
is weird.
It's pretty.
It's-
It's out there.
Like,
I like his intro where he actually he's got the shotgun in the box of flowers or whatever.
okay, yes.
pretty cool.
He looks like Arnold, but certain moves can burn all the flesh off, and then it's just the endoskeleton.
Oh, really?
But then it's implied that the endoskeleton is immune to a bunch of moves. Like Scorpion's hook no longer works on the endoskeleton.
What?
Because there's nothing to dig
there's
into.
nothing to
It gets like super armor?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I really like
I was
when
wondering
people
how
go
they
for
would-
that with like cameos. They could
it's
just
a-
like be like, hey, he
it's like
plays
an
Ryu.
interesting mechanic. It's like the Scorpion's hook and one of his flame moves no longer do anything when he's just metal. It's kind of
I
wild.
wonder if he's like
Sucker.
slower or something. If there's a
Maybe,
trade-off.
yeah,
Like,
maybe so. It's a weird twist. Also, the fatality is incredible.
oh, I gotta go watch that after this. All right.
I would have figured that he just played like Lobo from Injustice.
No,
Like-
that's Scarlet actually. Believe it or
Oh,
not, I was
right,
watching like
yeah.
an old on GB Infinite
Mhm.
and watching you guys play Injustice when Lobo was out. I'm like, that animation is totally Scarlet.
Weird.
Yeah.
So I would figure because like he's the I've got a motorcycle and a shotgun.
Right.
Like it just feels
Yeah,
like that could.
He's got the shotgun.
yeah.
Yep.
We got an email in here from Christian in Minneapolis who says Minneapolis has been having more events with arcades and barcades opening up. Most recently, another one was announced to open that lets kids in until a certain time.
Cool.
I've been to events where parents use it as a way to keep their kids entertained while they enjoy a cold one. More power to the parents for trying to introduce their kids to arcade games, but it sucks waiting an hour to play House of the Dead. I was just wondering what you guys thought about letting kids into barcades or events that are obviously geared more towards adults.
Those places are fighting tooth and nail for every dollar that they get to begin with, and any other way that they can
Yeah.
make money. That's
Yeah.
more power to them.
I know, like I've been to Round One a bit here, like in San Jose, and they do a thing where it's like up till 8 p.m. Anyone can go, and then they
That's
start
cool.
carding people at
Yeah.
that time. I like it. I like having a space for adults with like young adults with kids
Mhm.
to be somewhere where they can like have a drink and play a video game.
Right.
That just sounds like an interesting proposition.
Yeah.
It's cool that like we're kind of in this barcade renaissance. Like I feel like there was a kind of a rough early going to it where like not very many of them had good machines or anything, and it felt way more gimmicky, or like everything was overpriced. But there's a few even here in the city that like I particularly like Coin Op. They did like free play September. All the games were just free for all of September.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is there like a drink minimum or something?
No, just like
Wow.
go. There wasn't a ton. There's not a ton of machines, and then there's like an upstairs thing that was always had more machines and like the pinball and stuff. But there was
Cool
always like
kids.
an Uber corporate party up there. But yeah, no, I think this is great. I'm really into this idea. I think that there needs-
Especially with the death of arcades.
yeah,
It's nice to have that isn't like a place where kids can go that the games aren't like token or redemption based.
Right. Yeah.
Where it's just skee ball or shit like that.
Yeah.
So,
Smoking token.
yeah.
and now we're finally getting to the point where like gamers are having kids. Like people who grew up in arcades.
Yo,
are
it's a
having
way
their
of
own
life.
Kids, and those arcades aren't around for those kids, like their kids, to play around anymore.
Yeah.
It's great. We're in agreement.
More of that.
Let the kids play the video games.
Right.
What does it matter if it's kids or adults that you're waiting on to play
That's
the
true.
machine?
Yeah.
Like,
Some
I'm not
kids
sure
are
I get the
fucking
distinction.
annoying.
Whoa.
Especially ones that play
shots
House of the Dead.
fired.
Yeah.
Really stuck it to those kids.
Take
Fucking
that, kids. Speaking of arcades, Matt in St. Paul writes in and says,
Oh wow.
"Hey, duders.
Hey.
I was just wondering what your favorite game intro or attract screens are, whether just gameplay demos or proper trailers for the games." He kind of notes that nowadays mostly RPGs are doing it, and shouts out Suikoden 3 as having an incredible one. So I was just thinking
man.
like straight up arcade attract screens. I remember the
Oh,
X-Men one really catching my
Yeah.
eye
Yeah.
because it was
With
just
you
so
on that.
bright and colorful, and it looked like the cartoon a little
The
bit.
Simpsons
Yeah,
arcade, same thing.
Same deal. The Captain America and Avengers one that had like Iron Man and Vision was neat.
I like Street Fighter 2.
Yeah,
It's
man.
just, it's just standing in front of that building. Just,
Scroll
yeah.
down, it nails that guy.
Like
yeah.
those two
Those-
guys don't
not even
look-
in the
they're not even
game.
in the game. They don't need to be.
Nope.
I almost grabbed this thing for the podcast, but it's a little outside of the scope of, I can't remember, I wish I knew the guy's name, like prominent fighting game community member / streamer who has been breaking down the way that AI cheats in fighting games
Yeah.
in arcades.
Yeah.
And he did Street Fighter 2 recently.
I saw
And it
that.
was fucking appalling. Like,
What?
like the computer just straight up becomes invincible through certain combos
Oh,
and
totally.
like strings moves together that cannot mechanically be strung together
Uh-huh.
by the
Walking
player.
forward flash kicks.
All
yeah,
this
yeah,
shit, dude.
Yes, walking forward flash kicks for those are a motherfucker.
Like
Jesus.
you'd think I would know better, but I've just felt incensed looking at that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't even want to see the Mortal Kombat 2 one or 3.
You don't want to know.
Oh, well, yeah, that's yeah.
And then getting a little broader, as Matt did here, if we're just talking about like console kind of main menu attract screens, I will have a soft spot forever for the Ocarina of Time one, where it's just the field and
Yep.
you hear the like guitar version of that song playing, and it's just
I like,
very
I like a good ambient title screen.
it's so good.
Mega Man 2 is great, of course.
Oh,
Let's scroll up.
Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I really love the Soul
the music's
Calibur
building.
intro song. I could watch that.
Oh,
again
yeah,
and again.
dude.
Yeah.
Chrono Cross, that intro song's really
Yeah.
good. Shit.
Kingdom Hearts, you're right.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
Sorry, I coughed.
Oh, okay. All right.
Don't cough again.
I have when I load the SNES core on that Mister, it defaults to load Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball. And I've been leaving that running for a while and just turn over, and sometimes you just see Bill Lambier's digitized face.
Digital Lambier.
That's right.
Man, these emails where you have to think of something on the spot are hard.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Huh.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I came in with a couple examples. Why didn't you?
God damn it.
B-mails. Should I?
All right, go on.
Shall I move on?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. We kind of talked about this for a second. This comes in from Cliff. Does part of you miss full-priced AAA licensed video games? I feel like the poor ideas combined with the short timelines and forced IP integration would make for some wonderful content in the modern day. Tell me your heart wouldn't flutter just a tad if somebody dropped a Downtown Abbey, the movie, the
Dude.
game for PS4 on your desk right now.
That fucking movie is awesome. As a fucking fan of Downton Abbey, that shit is
off.
so
I
good.
heard it was pretty good.
You have
It's
permission to
so
go off.
good.
It changes everything.
It does, but it doesn't. Oh my god.
Just like the
So
Sex
it's like
and the
a-
City movie.
It's like a shonen movie.
Exactly. It's like the perfect anime movie where nothing
Nothing
will
happens.
ultimately matter,
Yeah.
but everything changes.
Are you saying Lady Mary has another new beau?
I don't want to get
New
into
final
it.
form.
There's like some haircuts that were like, wow, I can't believe you would go with that.
Wait, what do you got
in
for
old,
me? What do you got for me?
just like, wow, you're really gonna rock a bob cut
Huh.
back at like
Who?
this type. I don't want to say.
Oh, come on.
It's in the trailer. It's in
I'll
the
tell you
trailer.
after.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, B
I
games.
miss these.
Those
Yeah.
are B games. B
Yeah.
males, B games. Like it's that tier of game that just got gutted over the course of this generation and
They got like
partially
really good
through
into
last
phones,
generation.
basically.
Yeah, licensed games, absolutely. They were just like, oh, why don't we make these? You know, they're just marketing, make them as free to play games.
Yeah.
And we can milk money out of people by writing Marvel on the front of it.
There's a reason that THQ went away, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you got like, the occasional. Some of my favorite underlooked games are like licensed games. Like I really fucking love the Minority Report N64 game. I played the shit out of that game because it had a cool shotgun in it, which was enough for me as a kid running games from Blockbuster.
I've had early side-scrolling Batman games on the brain recently.
Oh yeah,
like
some of those are all right.
There's the
The NES
Sunsoft NES game.
yeah.
the Super
That
Nintendo.
game's weird.
Yeah,
I played that
game is
recently.
weird.
It-
Why is
yeah.
Batman purple?
Just color
Color
palette
palette
stuff.
Color palette
Yeah,
was too
you
limited,
know.
I guess. And then there's like that. I think there were multiple Genesis games, but the
Yeah.
one based on the movie.
Yeah, you fight Scarecrow on that plane.
The one that's just called Batman. you
Yeah, the
mean?
one that's just called Batman.
I have the Japanese version of that came in like a tiny case that just has the same logo as the movie, just the Batman logo on it. Tiny little box. It was $80 to import it.
I can't remember if that game was good or not.
It's all right.
Yeah.
And then it finally came out in the US. Like that was a case where like EGM through their editorial deserved a kickback from the Japanese publishers of that fucking Batman game.
I totally remember them
because, like,
hyping that
every
game.
issue was just something else about like, look at this 16-bit Batman coming to the Genesis,
think
but
I-
not in the US.
I think that's how I ended
and
up.
then it finally came over, and
Yeah.
you're like, wait, it came over. What the fuck is wrong?
Yeah. I think that's how I ended up with that as one of the few Genesis games I got my hands on.
Yeah.
GoldenEye.
What about it?
That's a licensed video game.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
Yeah. Fight Club license.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Fred Durst.
Mhm.
he's a license.
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln.
Mhm.
True.
All
Yeah,
right.
I don't necessarily miss licensed
Yeah.
video games because I think that they were rarely good. Like, I mean, obviously, like, hey, the good ones were good.
I don't think many
But-
of them fell into the so bad they're good category like a few did here and there.
No.
It was like, then you had like what Titus or whoever publishing that fucking RoboCop game. Just like there's just such a.
Speaking of film-inspired side-scrollers,
Mm-hmm.
talk about that Data East RoboCop arcade
Oh,
game.
that's a great game.
That thing rules.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
wife goes nuts over some of the Lego, like the Harry Potter games.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The Incredibles as well. But yeah, she's played those to completion and then some.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty nuts.
That Mummy Demastered game from
Yeah,
that was
neat.
neat.
Yeah,
That game's
yeah.
cool. It's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good game.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I don't specifically miss licensed AAA video games. What I miss is that tier of a video.
Yeah,
game.
just like there was variety there, and you would find a lot of games. Maybe not a lot of games, but you would find games in that era, in that tier, where it's like there's like two really interesting things about this game.
Yeah.
It's not a good game, but you should see this, or you
Right.
should see this. It's like games like Kill Switch that did like the Gears of War cover stuff before Gears did.
Mm-hmm.
There was that Wolverine game that was a decent brawler.
Yeah.
Where, like the
right.
finishing moves, you kind of warp to the dude. It was not bad.
Yeah, it was all right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Chronicles of Riddick is like the most
Yeah, that's the one
abnormal,
that-
anomalous licensed game story of all time because that thing came in and like A, it was fucking mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
B, it was doing the crazy shadow stuff that Doom 3 did like 6 months before Doom 3 came out. Like
Yeah.
that thing was
Starbreeze, man.
Yeah.
Put them on the fucking map.
yeah.
Spider-Man 2 had that. It was like kind of one of the first games that
Yeah.
made swinging around cool. Like
I direct you to Bionic Commando for the 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System.
Ooh.
Swinging has always been cool.
Pass.
All right, Spider-Man for the Atari 2600, where you could sort of
Next
swing.
email comes in from Brandon Torres. I don't know if I was supposed to read his last name.
It happens.
Just don't read his location.
I can read out his email address.
Okay, yeah, do that.
Okay. The subject of this email is fried rice, so it got my attention.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a two-part question.
Go on.
We'll answer the first part first. Hey, all. First time, long time. I'll be in San Francisco for 2 weeks soon, and I have a strange but urgent request. Where can I find a good place of fried rice in San
I
Francisco?
don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you.
Okay, well, then you should tell me after this.
Okay.
Hit up Dragon Bow in the Richmond. It's a dim sum place. They have a black truffle fried rice. It's the best I ever
Yeah,
had.
there's a lot of fried rice on Clement Street.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But then the more general question. With that said, whenever you visit a new town, is there any dish or meal that you absolutely have to try in that city?
If they have a deep dish pizza, I have to try that. Otherwise, a mushroom and Swiss burger for whatever reason.
Okay.
That's my go-to.
My first is
in,
always
in like a
pizza.
new restaurant.
I always like to see what just like kind of find a middle of the road pizzeria, you know, not like a chain or something, and just see like what their approach is to pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely had a fascination with American chains in Japan.
Oh yeah, those
Yeah.
are great.
I'm sure we've talked about it before, but Outback Steakhouse in Makuhari.
It was a trip,
was
man.
one of the weirder experiences I've had in a dining setting.
Yeah.
I
Just
usually
that it was like surreal,
It
like, because it was so.
indistinguishable.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
decor, food, everything.
Tim Turi had a
was-
long stint as an Outback.
Yeah.
Um,
But did he go?
the guy,
over
he
there?
went.
Yeah.
He went over there.
Did he,
He
like,
was
lose his
amazed.
mind?
Yep, that how similar
Like,
it was.
it was frightening.
Yeah.
cool.
It was that was a bizarre.
Did we go to a Tony Romo's over there too?
There is a Tony Roma's. There is a place for ribs over there
Yeah.
near where
Pretty sure-
TGS takes place. I don't think I've ever went there.
Okay, I might have been ended up there sometime.
That was always a GameSpot Live
I
thing.
think I'm pretty sure Ryan McDonald
Ryan
took
and,
us
and
there.
them would
one time.
always go find a place for ribs.
Yeah.
Tony Roma's.
I like to go to the Sizzler that was kind of close to the hotel in Shinjuku.
Would Sizzlers in Japan still have the salad bar and everything, like with the wings and stuff?
It was different food in a lot of cases,
okay.
but it was yeah. They gave you this cheese toast, like they still had the kind of the Sizzler toast, but it was just different enough. It was weird.
Okay.
And that corn soup,
Mm.
nice little
I like
corn
a corn soup.
like a nice little corn chowdery kind of corn soup.
Yeah.
Corn
type
chili.
thing,
Yeah.
Oh, for the fried rice question, go to my favorite place in the Mission, Punjab. They don't sell any Indian food. It's strictly Chinese food.
I've never been here.
Oh, dude, Punjab is the fucking best. They also have a very bad cheeseburger. Don't order it.
Okay.
Huh.
The origin of Punjab is that the owner had a dream in China. Someone visited him in his dream and said, "You will make $1 million if you move to America and make a restaurant and call it Punjab."
How's he doing?
It's all Chinese food.
It's been there since like forever.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will Smith went there for Pursuit of Happiness.
Okay.
There's a picture of him on the wall.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Did he find happiness there?
He was smiling in the picture.
He find like how much? Like 4 happiness, 5 happiness? What are we talking here?
5 out of 5 happiness.
Whoa.
Yep,
Yeah.
all 5 layers.
Get the sesame chicken. They only charge you 50 cents if you want to add broccoli.
Done deal.
Eat the
All right.
vegetables.
Kids, listen up.
And listen up to this next email. Giant Bomb Team, I recently started playing Remnant after listening to one of your podcasts where you discussed the game, and I couldn't agree more. The guns are extremely satisfying to use and make the game that much more fun to play. Back in the day, my buddy and I would discuss what makes weapons in games, quote, feel good, and I have always believed that great sound/design effects are what gives weapons in games that special something. Would you agree? What games do you think have the best sound design or effects for their weapons in general? And I feel like we can get a little broader of this, but like, what does it mean when a weapon feels good in a game? Like, it's something that's easy to, like if you put a controller in somebody's hand and say play this, and they play it, and they're like, oh cool, yeah, no, this feels good. It's like, what is that? What is that?
It's a combination of things. It's not just the sound effect. That's certainly part of it, and the visual effects. But it's what happens to the person that you're shooting as well.
Hit reactions is the secret other component.
Yeah, and that's a big part of Revenant.
As a recent example, I just use Borderlands because I love the shotguns in there so much. When you get a critical hit, sometimes they'll pop up in the air a little bit, and it's such a good feeling to like keep shooting them as they're coming down or melee them or whatever. But as Brad said too, hit reaction is another key component.
You kind of want that stuff to seem, and I think melee attacks and stuff like that, it goes for that as well, maybe even more so. But like that meaty feeling of actual contact, of force. It's very easy for games to, and a lot of it is based on hit reactions or something like that. MMOs were traditionally fucking awful at this, right? It was just like playing World of Warcraft and watching people swing a sword, and then the enemy maybe has like a reaction at some point, but it's mostly just numbers popping off their head because they're too busy attacking you back. Like that stuff, you feel disconnected from the action. So it's that feeling of like weapon as extension of self in a certain sense.
Yeah.
Where it's like I feel connected to this process.
That's why I feel like Mordhau feels so good, because you like actually feel the weight of yourself moving your shoulders back and then swinging this big old sword forward.
Yeah, it's that weight of a really fucking gnarly melee strike or something. And just like. Yeah, it's it's the same reason why some people in professional wrestling have really good punches and some people don't. It's that they either are able to get it to convey the weight of it, and the person selling it can convey that weight, or they just look like the dumbest Shane McMahon ass punches in the world, and everyone looks like a goofball.
Yeah, I actually had never considered sound that much before reading this, but it makes a lot of sense. Like my favorite feeling weapons were always like the Call of Duty, like M1 Garand and stuff, where you get that little ting, and sound design definitely goes a long way. And like Destiny is maybe the other kind of one of the standout, this shoots good shooters that I've played in the last few years, and that one also like the guns sound really good.
Yeah, there's a certain, and this was something Starbreeze, I think, was one of the first studios to really nail this. Like Riddick, I think, was you saw it there, but like Syndicate also did it really well. Was that idea of your weapon as existing in the space, not poking through a door when you run up to it before you open it, not always having this exact ready animation, but just like, you run up against a wall and they naturally kind of hold it up, or they kind of bend it around stuff. And just the animation that goes with that, the handling.
Another aspect of that was not having the gun rigidly locked to your perspective.
Yeah.
Like you would look and the gun would sort of trail behind. It felt like you were moving it around in the environment.
Like that stuff with weapons. And so that's stuff that, and I'm curious to see how the full game does it, but like that was the demo for Modern Warfare we got back around E3 time. They really focused in on those things in terms of like, as they touched up the weapons and did stuff, it was like weapon handling, which, I saw some of that in the demos they showed, but also it's sound design. And that was something that like, DICE has been nailing for a long time, just the modeling of weapon sounds, whether it's the war tape sound setting in those games, or however they've done it, in different settings. Like Frostbite, is just really good at rendering gunfire noise, and Call of Duty has been really off in that way. And so watching them demo it by like doing stuff like, I'm going to stand next to this bus and shoot the gun, and you're going to hear that reverb off of metal, that like devastating, like that being able to convey. And if you've never fired a gun, it's very hard for games, especially like, maybe you're wearing headphones, like maybe you're on shitty computer speakers, whatever, like to convey the actual fucking scary ass sound of a fucking gunshot, just how fucking loud that is when you're holding it, or if someone next to you is holding it, or how it sounds differently if it's being shot fucking in your direct, like that sort of stuff. Like being able to convey just how fucking devastating, because like that goes a long way to reminding you like guns are fucking fucked up, and when you hear how loud that shit, you understand like, if you're at the shooting range, put some fucking goggles on, put some some ear protection on. It's fucked up how loud those things. And you lose that in the process of all these years of shooters and stuff of just like people just
Right.
like everything just sounds the same coming out of the center channel. You're 5.1, whatever. They're never bassy enough. They're never big booming. So like they've gotten better at that, I think, in a way that like gets you closer to that place of just like, this shit is devastating.
Yeah.
The shit I'm wielding is fucked.
Right.
And yeah, that's always interesting to me because that's like really hard to capture.
Yeah, it's more than just like the sound of a gun. It's the experience of shooting a gun that you're trying to
That was
recreate.
something Black tried to do. Like the whole demo for Black, like and the full game, I feel like never captured this because no one had the sound setup that they had at E3. Like Criterion had a tiny room at E3 where they were showing Black for the first time. And you went in the room and it was just like dark, and they were like, and they told their story about gun porn and we want every bullet to matter, and like their pitch was just like creepy, you know, in a way. But they had this big ass screen and more speakers than they knew what to do with, and every time they pulled the fucking trigger in that game, it sounded fucked. It was just like they had done it. They had done the thing of just like, wow, you have taken these guns to this, like, you think about it as an unnatural level compared to other video games, but then it's just like, oh, actually, no, like real guns are fucking nuts. And it was interesting that they had focused in on that stuff and nailed it so well. But then when you get out into the real world where some people are playing in their TV and some people are this, and you know, it lost something. Like I don't think the final release of Black, and maybe if you duplicated their room setup and had enough subwoofers and all that shit, you'd get there. But it just nothing in Black ever matched that initial demo of just like, God, this is uncomfortable to be in this room while you're firing these guns, which is how it would be if you were in a room with someone firing fucking guns.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, one last email. This comes in from Nathan, frequent after show contributor. After show coming up after this.
Tumwater, Washington.
When is it?
After
the show.
Olympia.
Oh.
Hi, Bombcast. What is the worst 1980s song? It is Abracadabra by the Steve Miller Band.
Oh, that song
is fine.
That song's
Sucks.
We've
fine.
talked about this before. It is not that bad.
Also acceptable, We Built This City by Starship.
That's an acceptable
well-
answer. I don't know if that's my answer, but I could see it.
I don't like that song, but I don't hate it.
Right.
The video, it's that song's ridiculous.
It's
more
just
than anything else.
It's so devoid of any humanity.
Yeah.
To
To me, it's like infinitely human because of how fucking bad it is. You know, it's like it's just got this, like someone thought this was cool, and hey, man, you nailed whatever you were going for.
It doesn't even fucking rock. The song doesn't rock, man.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't rock. You're right about that. I'd say I'm like to me that song and Don't Stop Believin' occupy a pretty similar space these days. Like Don't Stop Believin' had a real fucking run around here.
Yeah, I can't.
In this building specifically, but also
Really?
when the Giants were big.
It's just everywhere.
Yeah.
I can't listen to that song anymore.
It's
Open Arms on the other hand.
Okay,
We'll have a conversation, but yeah, no, I can't.
The worst.
But I don't think it's the worst.
worst.
It's just,
No,
it's
it's
just,
the
over,
worst.
it's just
Yeah,
overplayed.
You're right. It's overplayed. Like the worst is, I mean, honestly, it's probably something we've never heard
Never
of.
heard,
It's
yeah.
some fucking
But you
nonsense.
know, what
Well,
have we
like
heard?
Yeah, but yes.
what's the worst but popular?
Come on. So far, nothing has topped Abracadabra, a piece of shit song.
We've already determined that.
I pulled
Is
up a
Abracadabra
fine.
80s or is it late 70s?
is 82.
Okay, all right.
I pulled up a list from the RollingStone.com. Number 1, We Built This City.
Yeah.
Wow,
The only reason
of the worst songs.
Yes.
there was like a VH1 special that was like the 50 worst songs ever that I watched all of, and that was number one there.
What else? What else is on that list?
10, Never Gonna Give You Up.
Oh,
That
that
song's
rules.
fine.
That's just a song that got ruined by
It's
the internet.
unfortunate that it's fortunate and unfortunate
He's
what happened
got
to
a
that
great
song.
voice.
Yes.
Number 9, Taco, Putting on the Ritz.
I like
Yeah.
putting on the Ritz and I don't care who knows it.
Number 8, Tony
Okay.
Basil, Mickey.
What the fuck is wrong with people?
No.
These are good songs.
This is a good song.
Number 7, Bobby McFerrin, Don't Worry, Be Happy.
All right, yeah,
Aw.
fuck that song.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'm indifferent.
Number 6, Falco, Rock Me Amadeus.
Nothing wrong with Rock
That's
Me
fine.
Amadeus. Seriously, what the fuck is?
5, Men Without Hats, The Safety Dance.
Oh, come on!
What the fuck do these people have
Yeah.
I don't know.
against
Boo
good
this
times?
Number 4, Wham, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go.
Yeah, that song sucks.
It's a great song. Fuck you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Song sucks
Number
ass.
3, Chris de Burr, Lady in Red.
I don't like Lady in Red.
Yeah,
I think that's a fucking.
That one can go.
I went to
Yeah.
a diner once and their jukebox broke and it played the first 18 seconds of Wake Me Up Before You Go on a loop the entire time I was there.
That's fucking awesome. I
Number
would have stayed there extra long and just like really soak it, just until you fucking felt yourself on the edge where you're just like, I'm about to lose it completely. And they couldn't turn it off. They wouldn't turn it off. What the fuck happened? How do you,
I don't know. I was like, I'd just gone to the dentist. I was like 13 in pain.
Was it like a situation where they're just like, I want to see how this plays out?
Maybe they wanted us all to leave.
Yeah.
we know number 1 is Starship's We Built the City, but number 2 is Europe's The Final Countdown.
What?
I'm not a fan of the song,
on.
but it
Come
has a
on.
But I
place. That
understand
song
this.
has a place.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan's true.
Usually,
Yeah.
Brian
that's a place
Also,
like
no one
as their
listens to
first
that whole
song and their
song.
encore
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
And thanks, Rolling Stones.
If you want to send in your B-mails, it's bmails@giantbomb.bmail, right?
No.
Yep.
No.
That's the
What's
one.
the...
Bombcast at giantbomb.com.
Okay.
That's right.
That works too.
I knew it was something like
Subject line. Anything you want, but put B-mails in there.
And
can't
it'll get
hurt.
read for
Can't
sure.
hurt.
Guarantee it.
that. Okay.
All right.
Video games?
Destiny
No more.
is out.
Yeah, that came out.
Destiny, Season 3 of
Yeah,
Apex
I'm gonna go play
Legends.
that.
Yeah, we're gonna go.
Breakpoint.
We're gonna go play some Destiny.
Now we're gonna go
Uh,
play some games.
Check that thing
We're
out.
gonna do an after show
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
because I started Breakpoint and Destiny downloading on a PS4 out there, and I don't know what's going on with this building today.
It's bad.
But it was like, all right, come back in 80 hours.
Wow.
That was happening yesterday when I popped in.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
I went to
someone
see.
running torrents around here. I don't know.
Wow. I went to see if the Destiny servers went up early this morning, and my PS4 had never downloaded the Shadowkeep patch.
no.
So that wasn't going to happen either way.
Boo.
But we'll
Boomer.
check that out and cover it.
And
There's
more.
a lot of games coming out all of a sudden.
It's October.
Yeah, it's happening. Shit.
It's time, man.
This year
Let's
is
It's
do it.
happening.
I feel like
Shit.
I seriously feel like we just finished Game of the Year like a month ago.
Right?
But instead, we are having meetings
here-
about Game of the Year
here-
this year.
Here we are in the last quarter of the year now.
Yeah.
Weird.
The last quarter of the year, Q3? Because
It's a quarter.
well, but isn't quarter...
Financial. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
talking fiscal.
I'm talking
No.
fiscal, baby,
It
because
is
I'm
the-
all about
Yes,
money.
it is the third fiscal.
all
is
about the
fiscal
Benjamins.
Q3.
Yes, that's
Goodness.
fair. Calendar Q4.
Can we start a show that's all about the Benjamins, wherein you do stuff? Because that's your
sounds
Just
name.
you.
That's my whole idea.
It's
That
up
sounds
there.
a
That's
lot
my
like-
entire idea.
That's on par with a dance suggestion for a show with me called Pack in the Saddle, where I play games that I never finished.
What does the name have to do with?
Because I'm back.
Because
in
you're
the
back in the
saddle
saddle. Okay,
with these old games.
okay, yeah.
All right, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We should go. Let's go. We'll see you next week. Bye.